Hello and welcome to Tartan in Slovenia for round 3 of the 2022 ICF Canoe Slalom World Cup. The venue here lies 8 kilometers northwest of the capital Ljubljana here in Slovenia, and it's hosted canoe slalom competition on the Sava River since 1939, including 3 world championships. 200 athletes from over 30 nations are competing here for the World Cup title, and this is the final race before the World Championships in Augsburg, Germany in just over a month's time, so the final opportunity to tune those skills. Well, perfect conditions again. Myself, Andy Maddock, will bring you all the information as it unfolds. And alongside me, Noemi Fox of the Australian team. A big warm welcome into the booth today.
Thank you, Andy. Very excited for this World Cup semi-final. A lot of big names lined up and a lot of big names missing as well, as we see some B and C teams join the semi-final.
So here is the schedule for today. It is the women's kayak semi-finals first, then it'll be followed by the men's kayak semi-finals, and then later on today we have the finals. And in this women's kayak semi-final, the athletes are going in reverse order of the performance in the heats. We have the top 30 boats racing, and here is the start list. So 30th place, Eva Alina Hocevar for the host nation Slovenia will be leading us off. And as you say, Noemi, some big names in this start line, and people like Stephanie Horn there of Italy. It might be in Slovenia, but the Italians treat this a bit like their home course as well.
Yeah, it's really not far from where a lot of the Italians train, so it's really cool that they can just jump over to a different country and train on this course. They had their selections here earlier this year as well, so a lot of different countries know this course really well, apart from just the Slovenians.
And of course your sister, Jessica Fox, she's got 2 wins from the first 2 World Cup races of the season, leads the standings at the moment. She'll be going off later on, but we've got the likes of Karina Kuhnler from Austria, who's always strong on here.
Yeah, definitely. Jess is in really good form, but I think we're missing the world champion, Ricarda Funk, and thinking of her as she is still positive from COVID, but we're off.
So we are racing now here in Slovenia. Eva Alina Hocevar leads us away for the host nation. Now we have 8 upstream gates in this 21 gate course. The course has been reduced because of low water levels.
Yeah, it's a really tricky and condensed course. This is the first time we're actually competing with 8 upstreams, so it will be quite hard for the girls and the guys, and we'll be feeling the lactic acid in our arms. But Eva is an incredible paddler, and this is her home course as well, so great to see her doubling up in the kayak and the C1. Really good paddler, still under 23 or junior, I believe, so got a long future ahead of her.
Yeah, she was 10th at the under 23 World Championships here last year, so she made the final in that event, and she'll be certainly looking to make the final here today. And as you suggested, Noemi, a little bit of an opportunity with there's a few development boats racing in this semi-final, so maybe a slightly softer start line, but still at the top end, and lots of quality boats.
Yeah, and she's holding it together really well. It's such a niggly course, and this is where we definitely see a few surprises into the final because it's such a random course sometimes, random water movements, and just when it's tricky like this, anything can happen, and you really have to hold it together until the finish line, and that's definitely what she's doing, and she does look super strong and fighting her way all the way until the finish.
So out of the last upstream gate 21, now she'll cross the finish line any moment now and stops the clock 96.95, and just at the moment showing a 2-second penalty on gate 13, the upstream gate. There is a review on gate 11, but no penalty showing at the moment.
Yeah, it was a strong first run to kick off this semi-final from the young Slovenian, and lactic, you can see that she was quite exhausted at the finish line. So these 8 upstreams are definitely hard, and you have to really hold it together and stay composed and know the race isn't over until you cross that finish line.
So next up for Japan, it is Karumi Ito, who is having problems at the top of the course.
Yeah, see, that first stop is really hard, and she's wasting a lot of energy. I hope she can get out of there doing a little bit of rodeo this is the famous drop in Tartan, and you want to stay as dry as possible, avoiding that stopper, which will just suck out all your energy. But she did well to get out of there.
And how's that changed? Because they've been modifying the course over the last few years, and last winter, or maybe even the winter before, they've modified the drop. They've changed the inlet gate and made it slightly easier. Is that correct?
I mean, I don't really have enough experience to compare, but it is quite a hard drop now, and you really want to stay as dry as possible and avoid the stopper, staying on the outside and using the flume where you can. But it's definitely a challenging drop, and one of the most challenging courses on the circuit, because you can see that water movement is just swirling left, right and centre, and it does fluctuate quite a bit. I think this is going to be one of the hardest moves on the course, gate 9, 10, 11 as well. So it's not just the first drop that's really hard, it's really this whole section. Staying clean is going to be the most important thing.
Yeah, it's a good point, that gate 10, the upstream particularly, isn't it? It's difficult. You've got to know what you're doing with your bows of your boat, otherwise it's easy to take the penalty on the entry.
Yeah, definitely. You want to keep the bow as light as possible here, and we'll see the best athletes do that, and staying super composed, clean, and I think gate awareness as well is going to be one of the most critical factors of this semi-final.
So Kurumi Ito of Japan, that time loss at the top has stabilised in the middle section, but 18.7 down, and that would have really taken the energy out of her, fighting that bottom, the stopper at the bottom of the drop before she'd even got to gate 1.
Yeah, definitely a very hard start to this run, but now we're on course with the first French lady of this semi-final.
And on course it is Doriane Delassou of France, so she gets the opportunity, and this is, the French have pretty much sent a B team to this competition, but the French B team is capable of getting in there amongst everyone else's A team.
Yeah, even the French D team is capable of winning a World Cup gold, so they have such a great lineup of paddlers, and Doriane is one of many French kayakers, a very big kayaking family. Her big sister Marjorie just won silver in the C1 last weekend in Krakow, and Doriane doubles up as well, so she's a great paddler in kayak and C1, and super clean and in touch with Eva's first semi-final run.
Yeah, nicely done. This is the upstream 10, then you've got to come across the hole and get your bows down through 10 to 11, and she's done that very nicely.
Yeah, you can see she's staying super composed and controlling the bow. A little bit caught in that upstream and having to go back. You really want to stay inside pole in all of these gates here, if not the current just pushes you to the outside like it did there.
That will have cost her a bit of time, but she did well. She didn't pick up a penalty on 13, but she has picked up a 2-second penalty on the downstream gate 15. And 4.75 now the deficit on the time. 96.95, the fastest raw time so far. Remember, these athletes racing in reverse order of their performance in the heat, so we should expect the times to come down as the competition goes on. And 30 boats, but only 10 places in the final.
Yeah, well, she held it together pretty well, and this is her first Kayak World Cup debut, so good run for the little French paddler, and she'll have accumulated quite a bit of knowledge for her C1 run tomorrow.
So into second place for Doriane Delassou of France, as we watch Avi Liebfarth of the United States of America coming down this top drop here, trying to take the dry line, as you said, Noemi, into the upstream gate 1, and nails the move.
Yeah, she definitely just nailed that up. Perfect line, a lot of speed, and she could carry that speed into the upstream and even got a really good kick there. So super fast start to this semi-final run, and she'll carry that confidence with her for the rest of the run.
She's the junior world champion, and of course she won that on this course, so she'll have good confidence, and she is up on the split at the early point of this course.
Yeah, she definitely carries speed wherever she goes, and I think that's going to be one of the most important things on this course, is to just carry as much speed and really keep the boat moving, and she's doing that well. She's 1 second up on the split, so this is a really good run from Evie.
And she's done through 10, 11, and now into 12 nicely. It's a sticky little section now, and you've got to react to what the water's doing. You're saying how much of the water swirls. This is well, one of the swirliest courses on the calendar, and you could say that the World Championships next in Augsburg is very similar.
Yeah, definitely. But look, this is an amazing run from Evie, nearly 6 seconds up, and she's really keeping her boat flat and her boat moving. And when you have swirly courses like that, that is the most important thing. So really good run from the young American, staying composed.
This could well go under 90 seconds. It's certainly going to be close. So in and out of the last upstream gate, gate 21, now digging deep, looking for those final reserves of energy. And, well, she's lost the time at the bottom, 96.58. It is good enough for the race lead, but there's obviously some time in the bottom of the course.
I think Eva had a really, really strong bottom finish because she made up 5 seconds on Evie there. So it's good, really strong runs from those two young paddlers, and we'll see the time progress as we go through the semi-final.
Next on course, it is Katja Bengeri of Croatia coming into this upstream gate 1. Nicely done. How easy is it to spot the line as you come down the drop and you hit the hole? Can you actually, do you get a big face full of water? Can you still spot the line into gate 1?
The goal is to stay as dry as possible so you can see where you're going, but you definitely want to avoid the splashes so you can see the right line, but you've just got to really push towards the wall, stay as right as possible, and then use the flume. And she did that really well, got a bit caught in the next move, and there as well you really want to keep your blade in the water as much as you can and control the bow through this swirly section really.
Yes, the water really swirls between the obstacles in the middle of the course, and sometimes the current can be going in a completely different direction to what you were anticipating, but that's part of being a good canoe slalom athlete. It's reacting to the circumstances.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of reacting here, and the goal is to be able to anticipate and stay in advance so you can make it easier for yourself. There are a few unintentional spins that we're seeing so far, and a few options as well, so definitely a hard course when the bottom hits and you kind of slow down and you waste energy. It's definitely tough in the arms.
So time slipping away on this bottom section for Katja Bengeri of Croatia. And you can just see that middle section. She was in touch on the top section, but the middle section, and you lose that rhythm that we were talking about, and the time really does slip away.
Yeah, there's not really much of an option on this course to breathe and compose yourself and look up. It's just quite condensed with those 8 upstreams.
So into third place provisionally, 109.58, but it is still Avi Liebfath leading for the United States of America ahead of Alina Hocheva of Slovenia. At this early stage, after 5 boats in this 30-boat women's kayak semi-final, we're live from Tarsen in Slovenia as we now watch Veronika Vojtova of the Czech Republic as she gets her campaign for a place in the final underway. And not the best start, but she needs to recompose.
Yeah, just nipped the gate with her nose, and yeah, 2 seconds will be quite costly on this course, so we'll see how she goes, especially in the bottom half. That's where we've seen a lot of time that can be made up.
So in terms of the World Cup standings, after 2 races in this competition, Jessica Fox leads the way with 2 wins from 2, and you can see the swirly water there in the upstream 6.
Yeah, looking like a 50-second penalty, arrived pretty high. The boat just got swept in, and she couldn't really control to go behind the gate. So a review for now, but it didn't look like from our angle that the head went in the gate, and confirmation of the 50.
Yeah, unfortunately we are now seeing a 50-second penalty for Veronika, so that will be eliminated at this stage of the competition. And unfortunate, but such is the nature of the sport. It can be cruel at times.
Yeah, definitely, especially when the water is so swirly. You want to stay as controlled as possible. If not, the boat just does its own thing like it did in that upstream, and it's really hard to control. So we might see a few 50-second penalties and a few touches on Tarsen especially.
So do you think Tarsen is a good preparation, this last race before the World Championships, for the swirly water, getting into the rhythm for Augsburg in Germany?
I think any race against the best athletes in the world is a good preparation pre-World Champs, and this course, yeah, I think it's good, but Augsburg is also quite unique, so any race leading up to the Worlds will be really great preparation.
So only 6th place for Veronika Vojtova of the Czech Republic. as we watch Ria Tribar of the United States of America setting off on her run. 17th last weekend in Krakow in Poland. So strong performance, and has been progressing well as she goes into this season. Started off the campaign in 38th place, so keep up that momentum and we maybe see you in the final.
Yeah, and she knows this course really well. She's half Slovenian, so she's got the insider information, and she's had some good results here. Came third at the under-23 Worlds last year in Tartan, so she is definitely a strong paddler.
Well, let's wait and see whether she can tackle this double upstream gate 6 and 7. No problems at all through there. Now into the tricky gate 10, 11, 12, 13 sequence.
Yep, jumped well into gate 10, high into the upstream, and carrying that speed into gate 11. Just making it through. We'll see. A bit tight on that gate 11.
Well, super tight, and of course the whole head and part of your boat must go through the gate line to be determined as a clear run. And well, 5.5 seconds down, and there is a review going on gate 11, but no penalty showing at the moment. So the video judges have a number of different camera angles, and they have the opportunity just to check any penalties if they want to get a better view, and that's what they're doing on gate 11.
We know Evie lost a bit of time down the bottom, so we'll see if she can catch up, but this is definitely a hard bottom section, and you really want to reserve some energy to stay in the time.
Well, paddling to the finish, Ria Tribar of the United States of America goes into third place, 101.16, a respectable run, but it is still Liebwarth leading for the United States ahead of Eva Elena Hocevar for Slovenia and Ria Tribar of the United States. Here is a name to watch though, and that is Teresa Fisarova of the Czech Republic. Had to go through on the second runs in the heats, but well, it's all down to this run to make it through into the final, and Teresa already has a 5th and a 2nd, so a very consistent start to the season.
Yeah, she's an incredible paddler, and I think this is her first season as a kayak paddler on the senior team, and she's already smashing it and making 2 finals, so we'll see if she can hold up that run and make a 3rd World Cup final in a row. She's definitely an incredible paddler, super controlled in both kayak and C1, and just strong and consistent, really.
Yeah, she is a very attacking paddler. She leaves nothing out there. She's had a little bit of a problem around 6, just didn't get the run of the water, and she's down on the early split, but we know there's still time, particularly in the bottom where you'd expect Teresa to be strong.
Yeah, definitely, and she does have that really good grip. I think that's her, one of her strong qualities is her grip, her control, and keeping the boat flat. She does that both in kayak and C1, so this is a really strong run. She's just weaving her way through the gates down, but we'll see if she can catch up down the bottom.
So now through 17, she's taken a touch on the downstream gate 17. That won't help her cause, but the job on this run is to make it through into the top 10. There's no points for which position you finish as long as you are into the final at this stage.
Evie definitely had a higher stroke rate, so we'll see if she's got enough grip to make it through the bottom, but looks like it's going to be a bit behind.
And into third place, 100.83 for Teresa Fisarova of the Czech Republic. And well, that'll be quite a long way to the bottom to see whether that is enough, because we still have 22 boats to go in this 30-boat women's kayak semi-final. And well, that'll be quite a surprise if she doesn't make it through.
I think Tartan is full of surprises, so we never really know who can make it through. But so far we have 2 very young paddlers at the top of the leaderboard, Evie and Eva. So really strong paddling from those 2 juniors and under 23.
So on course now, it is Aki Yazawa of Japan, who's, well, she was 7th, a finalist in the Tartan World Cup in 2020. She's been on the circuit for quite some time, and clearly has some sort of affinity with this swirly water, but it looks horrible out there on gate 6 for her.
Yeah, getting caught in the boils a little bit, and it's a bit a whirlpool, so you want to stay as flat as possible, and she kind of just got swirled around, but keeping it together pretty well, and a bit down on the split.
It's a good point about keeping the boat flat, isn't it? Because some of the temptation, particularly when you get into trouble, is to stick the back end down try and pivot it, but sometimes that can just make things a whole lot worse.
It is the type of course, it kind of looks like athletes are in slow motion to just go through the gates because they are so close together. So there's not a lot of room here to express yourself and paddle and get the boat moving. You really have to be meticulous and position your boat well, and I think that is super critical for this course.
Well, 7.75 down on the split now, and that's a reflection of just well, partly how good Liebvarth of the United States of America, the junior world champion, was, but also just if you don't quite get the run of the water, if you don't spot the lines and really capitalise on it, the time can slip away. Into 5th place for Aki Yazawa of Japan.
Yeah, we saw Evie just power her way down, keep paddling, and she does naturally keep the boat super flat, so I think that is a winning combination out here today.
Well, next, starting for Spain, it is Laia Sorribas, who comes down this top drop. It's a legendary drop on the circuit, really, particularly if you talk to the juniors, the under-23s, as they talk about canoe slalom, it's like, oh, Tartan, I really want to go and do that drop.
Yeah, well, she has done the first 3 gates really well, super strong. She's the only Spanish paddler out on the water today for the females, so this is a solid start from Laia.
Now this is the critical move. Can you get out tight? And she does that nicely through gate 6.
Yeah, she keeps the run on the boat super nice in those few upstreams, and then keeping her head within the poles on those staggers as well.
So she's in touch on the split, which is important. Now this is the critical move. 10 is down on the eddy line. Really feel the water.
Got swept a little bit outside pole there and had to squeeze in for the next gate, which does not look promising. 50-second penalty on gate 12. She just missed the headline into that gate.
Yep, such are the margins. It is being reviewed, but it is on the board at the moment. 50 seconds of penalties, and well, that would be elimination at this stage of the competition. So we're not even halfway through this women's kayak semi-final. Liebvarth leading ahead of Hochevar and Fisserova. That's effectively we're 10 boats in, 20 boats still to go, and they are the fastest 20 boats from the heats.
Yeah, so tough work out there for Laia. She got swept around a little bit. She'll be quite disappointed because otherwise it was a fast time and a lot of good moments out there as well.
Yeah, well, she'll have to wait and see, but the review is done and the penalty stands. So unfortunately, it won't be a place in the final today on this occasion, as we next watch Tong Li of the People's Republic of China coming down, 33-year-old, very experienced paddler, and I'm sure very focused on the World Championships. The Chinese team quite often, when they've come over to Europe, they base themselves and try and spend a lot of time in Augsburg.
Yeah, well, we actually haven't seen them for a few years out on the international circuit, so it is a bit of a surprise to see how good a lot of them are, and they are super strong paddlers. I mean, overall, a really strong group. So she's in touch, 1.7 down, and we'll see how she goes throughout the rest of the course.
Well, in and out of the upstream gate 7, she certainly looks like she's got the flow of the boat nicely through now into this critical middle section. This is where you can find time, but you can really lose time as well.
So far, she's staying quite composed and strong, and not doing anything radical. Chooses to spin there. Not sure if it was the plan, but she stays quite controlled and really keeps her bow flat, but slides out into that upstream super swirly eddy.
So that 2-second penalty added onto the time as a result of that little error in 13. Now doesn't quite get the boat speed through this downstream sequence through 16 and 17, and that really can cost you now even for gates further down the course. You just haven't got that boat speed, that momentum.
We've seen a lot of athletes slide out into that gate 13, so quite a common touch there, and she's probably exhausted. 8 upstreams is definitely not something that we're used to on the slalom circuit, so we'll see how these athletes hold up.
So into 5th place for Tong Li of the People's Republic of China, 102.90 total time. Still Liebvarth leading for the United States of America Well, we're past the first third of the competitors in this women's kayak semi-final. And next up for the Czech Republic, it is Barbara Valikova.
We'll see if anyone can be competitive to those top two times, because for now there is a little bit of a gap, so we'll see how Barbara goes down, and so far it's looking pretty smooth. Generally a flat boat paddler and on top of the water, so this could be a good course for Barbara.
She is a World Cup finalist and an under-23 World Championship finalist, so no stranger to the pressure that you experience in these kind of competitions.
And those two upstreams were really, really well done, so really good start from the Czech paddler.
In fact, that's the closest I think we've had to the split time, 0.42 for a while from Barbara, as she challenges race leader Liebvarth of the United States of America. And very, very confident direct line from 10 to 11.
Super smooth. A spin on gate 12, that's probably the first spin that we've seen, but she negotiated that pretty well and keeping the run on the boat. The top section was really fast, so we'll see the split.
Well, 2.38, that is in touch with a place in the top three at the moment. Now into the upstream gate 18.
This is a really strong run from Barbara. We know Evie lost a little bit of time down the bottom, so we'll see if she can hold it together and pick up the speed a little bit to have a strong finish.
96.58 is the time to beat. She's done all the gates now. She's clean. Barbara Valikova goes for a place in the final and is our new race leader by just over a second, 95.45. And, well, will that be enough?
Yeah, that was a really, really strong run from the Czech paddler. Just meticulous, held it together all the way to the bottom, and we know that that is the most important thing. So we'll see if that can be enough to make it to the final.
Valikova leads for the Czech Republic, ahead of Liebvarth of the United States of America and Hocheva of Slovenia as we approach the halfway point in this women's kayak semi-final. And on course now, it is Michaela Hasova of Slovakia, who, well, it's her first World Cup of this 2022 season. So a little bit unknown in terms of a form guide.
Yeah, so she was in Krakow but didn't make it through the semi-final and got a bit stuck on that first upstream and lost a bit of time. So I think she'll be down on the split.
Well, this is the critical bit. She is nearly 5 seconds down on the top. But gate 6, she carries the boat speed on the exit, albeit a little bit high on the exit.
Weaving through this middle section pretty nicely. That's definitely where the arms start to burn a little bit, and here you really want to make sure you kind of stay composed, keep it together and keep your head within the gates, because the water is getting quite surgy and swirly down the bottom.
Yeah, and a penalty there picked up on gate 12 and another one on 13, and suddenly that deficit has possibly even doubled at this stage, and there's very little way back. Nearly 10 seconds now, the deficit over race leader Valikova of the Czech Republic, and another penalty on 17.
Yeah, definitely hard to keep it together when the penalties start to accumulate. +6 is definitely going to be too much to make it through to the final. But yeah, it's just really hard when the lactic acid starts to kick in and you feel like you accumulate those mistakes and can't keep it together down the bottom.
So Hasova of Slovakia stops the clock in 10th place, 1:11.89. It is still Valikova leading for the Czech Republic.
Not looking too happy with that performance there.
Well, next to challenge down this course, it's Eva Pietracha of France.
Yeah, a few French young ladies making their World Cup debut in Tartzen here this weekend. Eva had a really strong qualification run and is a really strong paddler. I haven't actually seen her paddle very much. I don't think many people have. So the French are introducing some new faces onto this World Cup circuit.
Yeah, she's just 19 years old and nearly gets pushed outside the upstream gate, the downstream gate 5. But she does pick up a 2-second penalty as a result of that line error.
Yeah, had a bit of trouble in 4-5. Didn't manage to stay inside Poland, so went some extra distance, but we'll see how she can hold it together on this bottom half of the course.
So into the upstream gate 10 here on this Tartzen course. can expect it to get a bit lively later on. I hear the Kauser Army are coming.
Yeah, Tartan is always a great World Cup with the spectators. They're very, very loud. They have these wooden things that they twirl, which are quite deafening, but they're very passionate about this sport, and will be very proud to support Kauser.
Yes, I think there's several busloads of people coming from his hometown to support him today, so we can anticipate that. And of course you can follow the finals at 12 o'clock Central European time today. The women's kayaks first, and then the men's kayak final will follow on from that women's kayak final.
Strong finish from Eva there. She really managed to catch up on the time as well, only 4 seconds down, so really strong first semi-final for this young French paddler.
Yep, great performance there, one to watch for the future. And from one French athlete to another, and about to start, just gathering her thoughts, Colline Charel of France sets off for her campaign for a place in this Tartan World Cup final.
Really strong start from the French paddler, under 23 world champion on this course, so I definitely think that she likes this course and knows the water movements pretty well, and definitely a strong start, super flat and fast out of those gates.
Yeah, she looks very smooth, very composed, and it is so important to be composed and spotting the lines here on this course as you watch the water.
Yeah, she's definitely attacking it well, staying inside pole and keeping that boat flat, and has a really good rotation and turning fast. So this is a solid start from the French paddler, and she's just ducking in and out of those gates and is very close to the split.
I'd go as far as saying this is going to challenge for the race lead, I'm sure. She's going for the pushback, that's a plan B.
Choosing to go for the back off, yeah, but it worked out super well, and exiting really high out of that upstream as well to set herself up for the next stagger, and staying straight. So this is a strong run from Colline.
Well, look at that, 2.4 seconds up on the race lead time, Valikova of the Czech Republic. And she still looks to have the run of the boat and in the groove there as she comes through gate 20.
Yeah, really fast stroke pace as well, and you can see that those strokes really propel her forward. So every stroke is a good stroke, but just a touch on gate 21, that will set her back a little bit.
Yeah, that touch, well, that will cost her overall in the standings, but into second place.
Third strong run. Yeah, that last upstream when you're a little bit fatigued and just a little bit off on the gate awareness, she'll be kicking herself for that touch, but still a super strong run.
It's actually 2 touches. That's why a bit of confusion on the placings there. She's given a touch on 15 and 21, so the fastest time of the day for the under-23 world champion of last year. And Colline Charel of France goes into 3rd place. So Valikova leads for the Czech Republic, Liebfarth of the United States in 2nd, Charel of France in 3rd place, as we are at the halfway point in this women's kayak semi-final. And on course now, Carole Bouzidi of Algeria, who of course used to paddle for the French team and has well, it was quite a while ago, nearly 10 years ago, but she was a European champion and a real force in this discipline.
Yeah, I think she has a great race experience and has accumulated a lot of knowledge and I guess just racing knowledge under her wing. So racing for a new country now, and quite a meticulous paddler, always just places the boat where it needs to be placed.
So she's picked up a 2-second penalty on the downstream gate 8, and I'm not sure if the split includes that. I don't think it does, so that will increase the deficit as she comes down through 12 into 13.
We can see there are a lot of options there on 11-12. It might be a spin and then a direct or a back off or all direct. We'll see what the ladies choose to go with, but that's definitely where there is a bit of time to make up.
So you're listening to myself, Andy Maddock, alongside me, Noemi Fox of the Australian team, as we get into the sharp end of this women's kayak semi-final here live in Tartan, Slovenia. And Carole Bouzidi, well, the gap has grown, but it's still a respectable run, as you'd expect.
Yeah, just the time slipped away at the end. You can see that the fastest time, 92 so far raw. The boat just keeps moving, and you have to keep as much speed as possible as you weave around the rocks of Tartan.
So into 8th place, and And as we were saying earlier, the crowd just starting to grow here in Tartan, and always a great atmosphere, particularly in the finals. And the noise the Slovenian crowd make is, well, memorable. Victoria Wolfhardt now of Austria goes down the course. She'll be very experienced on this course.
Yeah, and the crowd might be cheering for her too. They know her pretty well. She spends a lot of time on Tartan. Half Slovenian, I believe, as well. I hope I got that fact right. But she is a great paddler, always very strong, and she'll be looking to make her first World Cup final as well. It's been a while, and she's definitely capable and competent.
Yeah, she's a two-time under-23 world champion. She was 11th in Tokyo last year and has struggled with injury quite a lot over the last couple of seasons, and it's great to see her back, as you say.
Yeah, she knows how to weave her way down these staggers and down the course, and she did that really well, stayed super light, didn't even get stopped by the water there. And we'll see what sort of option she chooses to go for. Direct as well, and just gets a little bit caught there, but we'll see if she wasted much time.
Well, she holds the entry pole on 13, so she doesn't give anything away there. If you thought, well, she just touched 12, then don't worry about that. 12 is dead as soon as she's gone through gate 13, so you don't get any penalties for that. And 2.8, well, she is down on the split, but she's still in touch with the top three here.
Yeah, it's definitely hard to keep the water, to keep the boat going in dead water, and to really pick up the speed when the gates are so close and it's niggly. It's hard to find the right strokes to generate that boat speed. But the time's slipping away, and she might not be in that top three category.
Yeah, into sixth place. So, yeah, that's disappointment there for Victoria Wolfhardt of Austria. Still Valikova leading for the Czech Republic ahead of Liebvarth and then Charel. As we are now, well, it won't be long before we start to confirm our finalists. We've had 17 boats down, 13 still to go. And on course now for Great Britain, it's Phoebe Spicer.
Yeah, definitely a new face this World Cup for the GB team. Phoebe competing in kayak and canoe this weekend, and had a very good first run in the heats to finish in a good position.
She was 13th at the Under-23 World Championships here last year, so just missed the final in that event. And, well, has the opportunity. It is all about keeping that boat running, and she's just lost the rhythm there from 3 to 4.
Getting a little bit stuck, but manages to get out without a penalty. But we can see that she lost a bit of time by rotating and getting a bit stuck on that bubble.
So nicely out of the exit, the upstream gate 7. Now this opportunity to find a bit of time, because 4.76 down on the split at the top of the course is quite a lot to make up.
Yeah, and got a little bit caught through there. We saw the best boats really jump over that stopper, so getting a little bit stuck.
And I think she has been awarded a touch on the upstream gate 10. She was very tight on the entry and must have just touched it with a part of her buoyancy aid as she just recirculates on 13.
Yeah, I think she just didn't get her exit right, because she got through that gate and the bow just kind of swept under. So yeah, that's a big time loss there from Phoebe, but hopefully she gets to know the course a little bit better for C1 tomorrow.
Yeah, and how useful is it in terms of, I know the physical demands of doing both categories, it kind of adds up, but how beneficial is it to have had a few extra runs on the course?
It's a good way to increase your confidence and to see the gates and the trajectory from the right perspective as well. So lots of knowledge to kind of move forward and take to C1 tomorrow.
So into 13th place for Phoebe Spicer of Great Britain, so it won't be a place in the final today. And it is still Barbara Valikova sitting at the top of the leaderboard, looking very comfortable, 95.45 as we watch Eva Tersel for Slovenia, the world champion of 2019, who's not had a great start to her season this season. And this is the opportunity to really get it going ahead of the World Championships in a month's time.
Yeah, well, she knows this course well. Second Slovenian on the course today in the semi-finals for the women. A bit of a shame that Ida Novak couldn't join her today, and I know that she'll be kicking herself as well. But we'll see what Eva can do, and so far she is up on the split.
50th in the first World Cup of the season, then 15th last weekend in Krakow. So no finals yet, but this is very much looking like it's going to bank a place in the final.
Yeah, she'll be hungry to deliver a good run on this home course, and so far this is a super smooth run from Eva, and she knows how to always keep that boat running, keep it smooth, and keep it tidy.
So in and out of the upstream 13 now. She's delivered the hard move. It's all about keeping it clean and running the boat. She's still up on the split by nearly a second.
Yeah, but accumulated that touch, so we'll see how she ends up on the final split. You can see the arms are starting to get a little bit tired. It is such a technical course, so you just have to weave your way through, and so far she seems to be doing that and keeping the right amount of intensity to put down a good time.
Well, she's out of the last gate. She's sprinting to the finish. It's going to be outside the race lead time, but it's a strong performance into 5th place, 97.17. So the time did slip away at the bottom, and that will be an anxious wait to see whether it's enough, because we still have 11 boats to go in this semi-final.
Yeah, those top 5 paddlers super tight, 1.7 separating the lead and Eva, who finished in 5th. So yeah, quite a battle to make it through those top 5 and end up top 10, really.
Here's a name to watch. The European champion of 2022, Stephanie Horn of Italy. She's battling a little bit, though, to get into the upstream gate 1.
Yeah, we got a bit of a zoom in, so we couldn't quite see her line, but we can see that she's battling into the first gate. Finished a bit lower than she would have liked to, so that's a bit of a time loss, and it's hard to lose time and waste energy when you know you really have to conserve it for the bottom of the course.
She won the World Cup here in 2019. She was 4th in Tokyo, but as you can see, she's lost time on the top part of the course, mainly on that Gate 1 sequence, but you wouldn't rule Stephanie out from just eating away at that deficit through to the finish.
No, she's got a good tank of energy, so we'll see what she can deliver on the bottom half of the course, but a bit swirly and slidey on that top section, so she couldn't really find the rhythm and deliver what she wanted to, but she can definitely hold it together on this bottom half, and we'll see what she can do.
Well, we're going to get an indication of how close she is to the split, and well, she has closed it down, really, considering she's got a 2-second penalty on gate 14, but Stephanie is potentially in trouble. There is a review going on 16. I think that's been completed.
Yeah, so she's a bit slidey in that section as well, struggling to keep the boat running, and the time is slipping away. It won't be competitive, and we know how tight it is, so it might be not the result she is expecting to finish in.
Well, that's a surprise. Into 7th place, 99.80. Does include a 2-second penalty, but well, you'd expect the Italians to be strong. This is like a second home for the Italian team, but at the moment it is only 7th place, as we now are into the final 10 competitors. So we'll start to name who our finalists are, as we watch for the Netherlands. Lena Tunissen on course.
Yeah, got a bit caught by that stopper. Arrived high, but still got a little bit stuck and lost a bit of time there. But yeah, we'll see how she delivers this run. Also a little bit caught. Tartzen is just full of surprises. We've already seen quite a few big names that didn't get the results they wanted to. So we might have a final full of different names, and it gives the other athletes a good opportunity to get some final experience at a World Cup level.
And of course we saw compatriot Martina Wegman miss out on a place in the semis. That was a surprise.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's always the one race where we see some athletes just not get the results and not kind of maintain the consistency that they're used to maintaining, because it's the type of course where anything can happen. And Lena's getting a little bit stuck on this run, getting a little bit swirled left, right and centre, and trying to stay inside pole.
Well, let's watch through 14, 15, 16. She looks very smooth through there, holding the boat speed well, but 3.5 seconds now, the deficit. And that, in terms of the leaderboard, will put them around about 5th or 6th place. So, in terms of with 10 boats still to go, that's an uncomfortable weight at the bottom.
Yeah, definitely, and we'll be ready to start qualifying now, so we'll see how the next 10 boats go.
So at the moment, Valikova leading for the Czech Republic, and it is going to be our first qualifier. Tunissen of the Netherlands stops the clock in 1:03.53 in 13th place. So well done, Barbara Valikova, the Czech Republic. You're our first confirmed qualifier. Go and get ready for that final. You can follow that final here at Planet Canoe, 12 o'clock Central European time. Of course now, Sona Stanovska of Slovakia.
And those the top 4 girls are quite tight, so we'll see how they end up and if they can squeeze into the final as well. But it's actually going to be a tight finish to see who ends up in the top 10.
Yeah, at the moment, yeah, as we were saying, there's some big names not in a great place. I mean, Teresa Fisarova of the Czech Republic sitting in 9th place at the moment with 9 boats still to go.
Yeah, I mean, Fisarova, it is her first season in the kayak, and she's been definitely a prominent figure already, so definitely more experience. And Sonia had a great run in the quals, picking up a touch that's going to be very costly.
Yes, because she was in touch, 0.7 down on the split. That would have been absolutely on track for a place in the final. But Sona tends to be a little bit hot or cold, not a lot in the middle.
Getting a little bit caught on that bubble there, and it's super costly. If you waste time, if if there's 2 seconds that just go past, it's not enough to squeeze through in a final. So 4 seconds down, and there as well, the boat stops, so that just accumulates a lot of energy that's wasted, and it's hard to carry down for the rest of the course.
We've got 3 gates to go now on this 21 gate course. Sona Stanovska for Slovakia against Avi Liebwarth of the United States for that next place in the final, and it looks like it's going to the United States.
Yeah, that's a strong run from Evie that we saw earlier in the semi-final, and it's been able to hold up to qualify for that final. So it's going to be definitely a good final, and so far these 2 paddlers, Valikova and Liebwarth, it's their first World Cup final.
So 8 boats still to go. Victoria Urs of Ukraine, 13th in the first World Cup, then 7th last weekend in Krakow. So getting a bit of momentum to her season after a good season last year where she finished in the Olympic final as well.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how Vicky goes in this semi-final run, because she is such a smooth, composed and flat paddler. Doesn't do anything radical, but just always keeps the boat in the direction that it needs to go. So far, and it's a pretty composed run.
And now this is the critical, the double upstream gate 6 and 7. Can it be easy to lose time, but solid for Urs of Ukraine.
Yeah, it's definitely a good start, and manages to weave her way well through those staggers. We'll see what the next split is. She seems as though she lost a little bit of time just in between those gates, but this is definitely one of the most important sections, and if you can keep your boat in the middle of the gate and the boat running, then you're good.
She keeps her cool. She goes very deep into 11. She does keep her cool, but she has lost a bit of time in that section. Now she's got to get the line right, keep the boat speed on. That's been so critical, hasn't it?
Yeah, lost quite a bit of time in that section, but she's managed to really stay in touch, and if she gains a second on this bottom course, then it might be enough to qualify. Definitely needs to stay clean and pick up the pace to the finish line.
Well, it's all about this line into the last upstream gate. Going to dig deep now. The lactic acid really built up in the arms, and finding the final reserves of energy, and into 6th place for Victoria Urs of Ukraine. She gives herself a fighting chance for a place in the final, but possibly going to be the wrong side of the top 10.
Yeah, so it's Cherelle from France with 4 seconds of penalty, and so far the fastest running time of 92.84. That is the next to qualify, so great work for her first World Cup to qualify into a final.
Of course now, Klaudia Swalinska of Poland, who's, well, she was 5th in Tokyo last year. She was the under-23 European champion of 2021, and her performances so far this season very strong. 11th, just missing out the final in Prague, and then 4th last weekend in Krakow.
Yeah, she's definitely one of my favourite paddlers to watch. Might have picked up a touch on gate 4 with her neck, but she's a rocket, and I think she can make it through with a touch if she holds it together. So we'll see how she goes in this next half.
She is very smooth, isn't she? But she is attacking and keeping that boat absolutely in control. She's not letting the water take over. That's the key part, isn't it?
Yeah, she definitely keeps her boat dry, and that was probably an unintentional spin, but touch on the exit's going to be very costly.
So it's Valinska, no doubt she's fast, but now 4 seconds of penalties. And suddenly, a lot of work to do as we hit the second split, and you can see how fast she is, because she's only 2.5 seconds down overall.
We saw Sherelle from France make it to the final with +4, so we might see Zwolinska do the same, but another touch on gate 18, so this is not looking promising.
So 1 gate to go, this upstream gate 21 for Zwolinska of Poland, 4th last weekend, and it looks like it's going to be outside of a place in the final this weekend here in Tartzen, and only into 10th now, 100.16, but that means Slovenia have a place in the final. Eva Alina Hocevar qualifies through into the final. That will help to liven up the crowd later.
Yeah, definitely. Shame about Zwolinska. She's missed out on quite a few performances, but now we move on to Jess Fox.
Jess Fox for Australia. Back-to-back wins in the first 2 races of the season. Can she make it a hat-trick going into the World Championships? A little bit sticky.
Yeah, definitely not the line she wanted there. Stuck. At least she didn't get surfed, but that's quite a bit of a time loss, and yeah, saved herself from a bad situation, I think.
Well, she's certainly put that mistake behind her. She looks like she's absolutely back in the groove, attacking the course now into this upstream gate 6.
Yeah, 2 seconds, very costly, so we'll see if she can hold it together, but that's definitely not the start of the run, and you can see that she struggled to find her groove even in those staggers. So we'll see how she stays composed and if she can really hold it together for this bottom half. And so far that was a good upstream. So
very nice line on 11. Goes for the pushback, whether that was planned or not. It's very tight into 13, and this is a good run coming together.
Yeah, that was smooth, but you can see it's really hard to actually get speed, and she just stayed composed, didn't do much, and that's enough to actually gain a lot of time. And this is probably one of the only courses where you can see that sort of technique come into play.
So Fox, from a bad start, has kept her cool and kept it going, and now challenging for a place in the final, if not a place at the top of the leaderboard. Now, in and out of the last gate, the time to beat is 95.45. It's going to be close, and it is just inside that. Well done, Jessica Fox of Australia. You are in the final.
Yeah, well, she's lucky that she didn't get a touch. If not, that could have been out of the final. So a bit sticky and a bit rough, but definitely enough to take the lead and get a spot into the final. So good job, Jess.
Yeah, and she goes for 3 from 3 later on. As we watch Karina Kunler, 2-time world champion for Austria. Of course, one of those world titles won on this course in 2010. And I think she's a 2-time European champion, and I think one of those titles was won on this course as well. But another athlete just high on the run into gate 1 and losing a bit of time.
Yeah, did the same thing as Jess just then as well, getting caught in that stopper. Lucky they're not getting surfed, but managed to pull some strength to get out of there and get back on track.
Well, very aggressive there for Karina, and look at that, 1.32 up on the top split. She's on a mission here.
Yeah, well, we know Jess was 2 seconds down, so that's actually not the fastest top section all round. But if she stays strong down the bottom section, then it will be enough to get into the final. And the next waiting is Eva Tercej from Slovenia, so it will be a nervous wait for the second Slovenian boat.
So we'll have to wait and see. Karina Kunler's had a slow start to the season. She's had illness. She had COVID over the winter, and then I think a bit of long COVID. Didn't race in Prague. She did race in Krakow, but only 21st. But she's still up on the second split, so still in contention for a place in the final.
I think a lot of these athletes won't feel like they've had a good run just because it's such a fight to stay online, and it's really hard to put those strokes that you want to put in, but they're doing the work that they need to do to get into the final and then improve their run later on. Yeah,
and I think that's a good description of Karina's run here. She is going to take the race lead by 0.8 of a second, 94.22, but I'm not sure she'll be particularly pleased with that. It certainly probably didn't feel that way. But well done, Karina. You're in the final. Although I have to say there is an asterisk, just any video review being completed. Kunla leads from Fox and Valikova in third.
Next up, Mallory Franklin, and probably one of the safest paddlers out there. Always so composed, always tall, flat boat, just incredible technique and incredibly strong as well. So just an all-round really good paddler.
So she got the line nicely from the start through the drop into gate 1. As you say, a good top section. You'd expect this to be the fastest on the clock.
Yeah, I think this will be very fast, and probably, I think, well, yeah, the fastest top section that we've seen. And you can see that she just stays just flat, composed, really good strokes, and doesn't panic. I don't think I've ever really seen her panic on a course. She just always gets back on track.
Well, coming into the upstream gate 10, Mallory Franklin so far this season, a 4th in Prague and then 24th last weekend. So the job on this semi-final is to make it through into the final and keep the momentum going into those World Championships.
Yeah, and that's probably the best negotiation of that section that we've seen, and still up on the split as well. So this is a really strong run from Mallory, and probably the smoothest run that we've seen so far. She doesn't look frazzled. She's just putting in the right strokes and pulling her boat where it needs to go.
So here she comes through gate 20. One more gate to go. It's the upstream 21. And time to beat 94.22 to take the lead, but the time to beat to take a place in the final, 97.17. Well inside that and well inside the race lead. The new fastest time of the day, 91.27. Mallory Franklin, you're in the final.
Yeah, that was a super strong run from Mallory, as expected in a way. Just managed to keep her boat where it needed to go, stay super tall and composed like she always does, and enough to take the lead by quite a margin for this final.
So Franklin now leading ahead of Kunla and then Fox.
Tercej still waiting for that qualifying spot, so a nervous wait for the Slovenian, and we'll see what Anna can do. Another really strong paddler and a bit stuck on that drop as well, but manages to keep the boat dry and keep the boat going.
Well, Anna Satila, 2 finals from 2 races, the World Cup races so far. She's finished 6th and 8th, so now looking to make it 3 from 3, and it's all about delivery now and getting into the top 10.
She's had a really strong start to the World Cup in kayak, and 4 seconds down, but if she can hold it together down the bottom, that's still in the running time to squeeze into the final.
Yeah, because Franklin was 3 seconds up, I think, on the top split.
Yeah, and a bit slidey, but pretty clean and solid from Ana Satila from Brazil. So this is a good run that's coming together, and this is a bit of the critical section, so we'll see what she decides to do.
Well, she's gone for the pivot. Plan B, I think, is just a little push back now. She's got to hold the entry pole on 13, and she does that well.
Yeah, so I don't think that was the original plan, but she manages to keep the boat running as much as she can, and still in that gap just to make the final. So we'll see if it will be Anna or Eva from Slovenia that makes it through.
And that time, 97.17, is the time to remember now, because that's the next automatic qualification. Either goes, as you say, to Eva Tersel, the Slovenian world champion of 2019, or Anna Satila, and well, it's going to be close. 97.17 is the time to beat, and she's just outside. So at the moment into 9th place.
Yeah.
And have to wait and see if that is enough. There's 2 boats still to go, but that is good news for Slovenia, because that's 2 boats into the final.
So she is next to qualify, sitting in that 9th position. So it'll be a nervous wait for Ana Satila. Just wasn't enough to cut it through to the final.
Next on course for Great Britain, it is Kimberly Woods, bronze medalist from last year's World Championships, 10th in Tokyo, and good to see her starting to find a little bit more consistency and form.
Yeah, she'll be hoping to make another World Cup final, made the World Cup final in Prague, I believe. And she is, oh no, gosh, just missed out on that gate 4, tried to have a tight exit, and it wasn't enough to squeeze into that stagger.
She hasn't made a final yet in the kayak this season, 12th and 16th in the first 2 races, and it's not going to be again today for Woods of Great Britain. She will go again in the canoe event tomorrow. You can follow the action live here at Planet Canoe. That's 9 o'clock Central European time for the semi-finals and 11:30 Central European time for the finals.
Yeah, super shame for Kim Wood. She's an incredible paddler, so strong, and can deliver some incredible runs in kayak and canoe all round. Really strong in this sport, so it's a shame to see her not be able to squeeze into the gates as she wanted, but she'll be hungrier for extreme trials and for the canoe. So 2 more disciplines to go, and we see a lot of the girls doing double classes. Eleanor, you know, the Brits, Jess, Vicky, so many paddlers do these double classes and carry on that knowledge and yeah, have a good crack on a race weekend in 3 disciplines.
How hard is it adding a 3rd discipline? You're doing 3 disciplines. It was already quite tough, particularly on a World Cup weekend where it's condensed.
Definitely, but I think, you know, a lot of the top girls are doing it as well, so we're all in the same boat, and it's great to have another crack at the course, and I think Kim will be super hungry for the C1, a discipline in which she's, you know, an incredible athlete and also the extreme, so you get another shot really.
So disappointment for Woods of Great Britain, but that's good news for Ana Satila of Brazil. Ana makes it through into the final. 1 boat to go in this women's kayak semi-final, and it is Elena Lillich of Germany. Great to see the German team back here last weekend after having to withdraw from the competition in Krakow. And of course, Elena was the fastest in the heat competition.
Very tight on gate 4, penalty, and we'll see if she managed to fit her head in. But yeah, the German team is back. We're just missing Ricarda Funk, who I guess we'll see at the World Championships, and won't get a glimpse of her paddling before then. But Eleanor is an incredible athlete and super strong and composed. And there's just a review on gate 4, which was very tight, so we'll see what the final result is.
So Elena was the silver medalist at last year's World Championships and 4th overall in the World Cup standings in 2021. Started off the season with a silver medal in the Prague World Cup, but then 29th last weekend. That was based on the fact she wasn't able to compete in the semi-final.
So it's actually a tight race for the final between Eleanor and Vicky Us. 7.38 is the gap to make the final, so it's actually going to be quite tight, and she might manage to squeeze in if she can hold it together till the end.
A critical time, 98.65 is the time to beat. So either Victoria Us or 90. And where are we at? She's just inside that and into 9th place. So Elena Lillich does get into the final for Germany. Well done, Elena. And unfortunately for Victoria Us of Ukraine, it's just outside in 11th place.
Yeah, the asterisk is still there, so we'll see what the final result is, but a tough battle for those women out there in the semi-final, and I think it will be a really interesting and good final to watch later on with a few new names in there.
So, no doubt about the top 3. Mallory Franklin is the winner of this semi-final for Great Britain. She'll go off last in the final, and that final starts 12 o'clock Central European time today, so you can follow that live here at Planet Canoe. Irina Kundler of Austria 2nd, Jessica Fox of Australia, and well, it surely will be a very exciting and tight final, but penalties will be the key.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as we saw, a few big mistakes, and you really just want to keep the boat online and stay switched on until the finish line. And it's a tough course, 8 upstreams. Again, the first time we've had 8 upstreams, so lots of time to gain in that, you know, course, really. So some tight racing we'll be looking forward to seeing in the final.
2 Slovenians in that final, Eva-Elena Hočevar and Eva Tersel, the world champion of 2019. And of course the young French athlete Colleen Charel, the under 23 world champion, and she looked quick.
Yeah, I think she'll be looking forward to cleaning up that run and see how she can compare herself to these big names in the final. And you know, a few recurring finalists in there, 3 times World Cup finalists, Anna, Jess as well, and then some new names like Eva Hosova, who will be super excited to be in the final in front of her home crowd, so that will be a great final for her as well.
So stay with us, we are going to be up next with the men's kayak semi-finals here live from Tartan in Slovenia, here at the 3rd World Cup of the ICF World Cup season. And of course it is the Mallory Franklin will go off last in this final. You can follow that 12 o'clock Central European time. So as we just prepare for the men's kayak semi-finals to get underway, if you were giving advice now, Noemi, to any of the men's kayaks, what would be your one word of advice to them ahead of the semi-finals?
One word's a bit hard, but maybe the one phrase is keep it clean and tidy. I think for the men they'll try just go fast because that's what we're used to, but as we saw in the girls, meticulous and clean, tidy, flat boat, I think we'll see Kauser deliver a really strong performance there, and too bad he's not going off first to show everyone how it's done, but yeah, I think it will be a really tight final for the men in this semi-final.
Great stuff. Well, there are the results from this semi-final. There are our 10 finalists. They'll go off in reverse order in the final, 12 o'clock Central European time today. And you can follow that live at Planet Canoe. But it is Mallory Franklin who takes the win for Great Britain in this semi-final. The big name, Stephanie Horn, misses out on the final. Teresa Fisarova, who had 2 finals from the first 2 World Cup races, also missing out. And Kimberly Woods, who was very strong in the heats, but unfortunately a big mistake at the top of the course and no way back from there. Well, myself, Andy Maddock, will stay with you, but we're going to say goodbye. Thank you, Noemi, for joining me in the booth. A pleasure as ever. And we will be back shortly with the men's kayak semi-finals. So here is our start list for the men's kayak semi-finals here in Tartzen. 40 boats from the heats, the top 40 qualified through into this semi-final. And only 10 places in the final up for grabs. And some big names, including Giovanni De Gennaro, who has now qualified in the heats first in the first 3 World Cups of the season. He converted that form into a silver medal in Prague in the Czech Republic in the first race, but missed the semi-final last weekend. Will he make amends here this weekend? Well, the 40 boats here, and you can see the Slovenian crowd are very much starting to gather here, ready, the Kauser army as they call them, ready to welcome Peter Kauser on the course. Well, Peter Kauser will go off at in the second half of this men's kayak semi-final, but we'll be anticipating the kind of form that he will put in and the kind of noise that we'll get from that Slovenian crowd. So I'm now pleased to welcome into the booth Callum Gilbert from the New Zealand team. Welcome, Callum.
Yeah, hi, thanks for having me. Good to be here.
As we are now underway in this men's kayak semi-final here, 40 boats being reduced down to just 10 in that final. And the first one on course, Joshua Joseph of the United States of America.
That's it. Yeah, lights out and away we go, I guess, here in Tartzen. Great to see Josh on the course in the semi-final, leading us out. Let's see what he can put down on this tricky 8 upstream course. Oh, just getting a bit stuck there on the bottom.
Well, as we get underway with this men's kayak semi-final, just a little bit of late information on the women's kayak semi-final. The final results, there was still an asterisk on Elena Lilik's time, and she has been given a 50-second penalty. So it's bad news for Germany, but it's good news for Ukraine. Victoria Urs will join the other 9 boats in that women's kayak final.
Yeah, that's always a bitter pill to swallow when you get those last-minute penalties put on. But it looks like Josh is doing a reasonably good job here, holding that run together after a little bit of a mistake at the top.
So we got into the early 90s with the women's kayak, and what would we expect here? Maybe into the early 80s?
Yeah, that's a great question. Look, it's really hard to predict, and I think, you know, there's obviously some really good paddlers to come. I mean, the whole semi-final is clearly a good field. So, yeah, I think with that time from Josh, I think we'll definitely see that come down a bit.
Well, Joshua Joseph stops the clock, 87.57. It is a clean run for the United States of America. And well, we saw it in the women's kayak. It's going to be important to go clean today. It's a short course, so the penalties will be more significant than ever.
Absolutely, absolutely. Especially with that surgy water, sometimes it can, the water will surge and come up a little bit, and you'll find those poles are a lot lower than you're expecting. So I think the paddlers that can stay dynamic and adjust quickly to the changing pole heights or the water level will definitely benefit.
Well, on course now, Alistair McCreary of Ireland, 44th at the World Championships last year. So far this season, 40th in the first World Cup of the season, then 61st, and then back in the semi-final today.
Yeah, he's done a good job in the first upstream there. A little bit sticky on the wave, but seems to be going well so far. Unfortunate picking up that touch there. Didn't actually see what that was with.
Like just caught it on his paddle shaft, and any part of your body, your boat or your paddle, touches the pole, and it's a 2-second penalty added to your time. So we've watched through gate 10, 11, 12. Tricky little sequence.
Yeah, nicely into gate 13 there. Big deficit on the top though.
Yeah, I didn't see quite where that deficit came from. Interested to see where that is. He certainly was very snug on 11. I think it is being reviewed. No penalty showing, I should add, though, on 11 at the moment. But certainly I think the judge is just checking the whole head was within the gates.
Oh yeah, it looks like you can just see the graining there a little bit. Looks like Alistair's just getting a bit tired there at the bottom, but he's doing well to hold this together around this last upstream, and then it's a long pull to the finish. Even on this short course, there's still a good few strokes to get you down there past the finish line.
It crosses the line in 96.02, and yes, that was a rogue split time at the top of the course because he was much more in touch on the second split.
Yeah, either that or he's made up 16 seconds somewhere in the middle.
So, McCreary for Ireland goes into second place. Joshua Joseph for the United States still the lead time in the early stage of this 40-boat men's kayak semi-final. So, Callum, just tell me what will be going through the athletes' minds in this. The men's kayak semi-final, always a really brutal competition, almost harder than the final itself. And what's the kind of tactics that people will be putting in place?
Yeah, look, I think it changes a lot person to person. I think a lot of people will be just trying to deliver their performance and see where that stacks up. I mean, ultimately, there's not a lot more you can do than your best run. So it changes. I think some of the big dogs, the top dogs, they'll be maybe saving the book for the final, but it's really hard to say. So we'll see. You see Manu there just getting a bit stuck on the bottom there on gate 6 as well. So it seems to be a bit shallow there, or easy to get the tail down.
So of course it is Manuel Ochoa of Spain, who didn't race in the first race of the season, 34th last weekend in Krakow in Poland, and a bit sticky, really throwing the boat around.
Yeah, I think he's doing a great effort to get the boat through those gates, his headed part of the boat through all of those gates, but he's definitely having to work for it out there.
Very different styles, as you were suggesting, from the athletes, and we can expect someone like Peter Kauser will come down, and you'd expect him to be very composed, very fluid, and not taking any risks.
Absolutely, and I mean, he knows this course like the back of his hand, so he'll certainly be out there trying to put down a good run. But Manu just not quite getting what he wants there, and obviously not happy with that run, unfortunately.
So 93.33, that includes 4 seconds of penalties at the moment. There are a couple of reviews just being completed as well. So into second place at the moment. And yeah, there's a sign. You don't want to do that too many times.
No, that's it.
So next to start, it is for Slovenia, the first of our competitors for Slovenia, the host nation here, Ulan Valant. And well, he's a bit of an unknown on the World Cup stage, but he was 10th at the Under-23 Worlds here last year in Tartzen, so no stranger to making a final in high-level competition.
No, and you can see from his bib number there that he's one of the sort of not as highly ranked athletes, but doing an incredible job here, and obviously knows the course really well. Really nice and smooth through the top there. And you can see, look at that deficit on the first sector there, that's fantastic. 1.5 seconds up.
Well, that's a good start, isn't it? And a good indication when you get some of the local Slovenia paddles, it'll give us a bit of an indication of the kind of time it might take to challenge for a place in the final.
Absolutely. And he's still really going really well here, really nice and smooth. You can see he's really gripping the water, controlling really well, got the boat tracking. Oh, nicely into gate 13 there as well.
And these moves, they must have done them hundreds of times in training, because there's only so many moves you can set on this course.
Yeah, that's it. It's actually one of the trickier courses to set gate courses on, I think, because there's so many options, you know, which side of the rock, and you can almost do a bit of slalom if you just put 2 or 3 gates in the right place, just having to go around through the rocks.
So 3.38 the advantage now, so he is starting to bring that lead time down towards the early 80s.
That's it, nicely through that last up and just working hard to the finish.
Stops the clock, 84.51.
Well, you might be right there, Andy, on your prediction, I think. I think we're going to see some nice low 80 times today.
Ulan Valant, well, for the home crowd as they warm up, ready for Peter Kauser to come down. Busloads, I believe, have come down here. The Kauser Army, as they're called, to support Peter Kauser, who's a bit of a legend, not just in the canoeing circles in Slovenia, but also in Slovenia itself.
Yeah, that's it. It's always a great crowd here. You can hear them from the side. They're loud, they're excited. It's beautiful weather, so it's going to be great.
Next up for Sweden, it is Fredrik Marlin coming down this top drop. And, well, how important is it to really get the feel in the first 2 or 3 gates on the course?
Well, recently I've really been feeling it's a big important thing, but I think you'll find a lot of the good athletes, it won't bother them too much, and I wish it didn't bother me that much, you know. But when you're a bit off in the first few gates, it can be quite hard to reset, refocus, and just stick to your plan. And then you go and throw in a big drop like this one here in Tartzen, it makes it, you know, a tough job. But Fred looking pretty good there. I'm a bit surprised about the deficit. I suppose it just goes to show that those nice, smooth, controlled runs really are paying off here today.
Yeah, it's just added a 2-second penalty on the downstream gate 8. So into the upstream gate 10 now. Now this is his first semi-final of the season, 45th last weekend, 46th in Prague. So already going in the right direction. But an opportunity to get a good result ahead of the World Championships.
Yeah, just fighting with the water a bit now, which, I mean, I guess that's shown on the split as well. You've got to be working with the water, you've got to be going with the flow, and it's costing him.
Oh, very nice. In and out of the upstream gate 18 now. But the gate's running out as coming down the course. The short course here in Tartzen, if you have just joined us, you won't have heard that the reason the course is shorter than normal is because there are very low water levels on the River Sava here, and the bottom part of the course is a bit shallow and can end up damaging boat and equipment and potentially people if you flip. So that short course does make penalties more significant, and it is the reason why we have 8 upstream gates and not 6.
Yeah, that's it.
So next to start, Mathieu Desnos of Brazil. Used to paddle for the French team.
Yeah, another really smooth paddler, so it'll be good to see what he does here on this course.
He's a bronze medalist at under-23 World Championship level, and yeah, you'd expect his smooth style to be an advantage here.
Yeah, nicely through that first gate, pops up onto the wave beautifully and flying across into the upstream. That's one of the sort of most incredible feelings, I think, when you get a nice kick off that wave. It just rockets you over to the upstream. Oh, just a bit tight there on gate 4, I think that is. So
get whiplash on that gate if you're not careful.
Yeah,
but I think it was comfortably inside the gate. But that's not my job. That'll be the judges to decide that.
Absolutely, and it's great to see that we've got the judges here. You know, they're reviewing all of the penalties. They've got a whole bunch of angles. So it's great at this level of competition to be confident that you're going to get the right call.
And there is a review going on gate 4 to just check the whole head was inside the gate line as well as part of the boat, as Mathieu has picked up another penalty on gate 2. Well, in fact, it's the first one showing at the moment. So it's not gate 2, gate 13. But there are a number of reviews, and that's more down to the fact that he really did cut the line on the top part of the course.
Yeah, that's it, and I'm not sure it's going to pay off so much today. I think middle of the gates, good comfortable positions, and being able to sit up and paddle well is going to be of benefit here.
Well, stops the clock, 87.34 into second place for now. At the moment, just the 2 penalty showing the 2 touches. Okay, 13, 2 seconds of penalty. And those reviews, well, we'll have to wait and see if anything comes out of them. But no doubt about it, the winner still at the moment, leading the way, Ulan Valant, in the clubhouse, so to speak, for Slovenia, 84.51.
Yeah, and I'm going to go out on an early limb here and say I think that's going to be good enough for the final. I think that standard's been set, and we'll have to see, but it's a long wait indeed. Next up, Pau from Spain.
Well, we'll have to wait and see, yeah, who is going to make it through, because even if you put in a really blistering time, then you might be confident of a place in the final, but you still got to wait.
That's it. You can't change that time to wait, but Pau's done an incredible job there across the first drop, nicely into the second upstream. He started this off well.
He was 4th at the World Cup in Seo on his home course last season. He was 11th here at the Under-23 Worlds last year, so just missed out on the final in that event, and it's a little bit low. Sorry, a little bit down on the split and just a little bit ragged on the top.
Yeah, and it seems to be a lot of people hitting their tail there in that upstream, just like it's a bit shallow, and I guess that might be as a result of this lower water level, but definitely sort of holds you up. And oh no, it's just come too tight to that downstream.
Yeah, you can see those are the margins. You're relying on just a little bit of help from the back of the stopper, and he didn't get it there at all. Had to recirculate round, which helped him set up through 12 to 13, but it would have cost him on the clock. 6 seconds now, the deficit.
So he's still holding it together and finishing off the run, but certainly he won't be happy with this one.
So now coming down through gate 19 and 20, 1 gate to go. Bottom of the course, this is where it's really swirly, and there's not a lot of help from the white water, is there?
Yeah, well, I think that's it. It's trying to harness it as best you can, especially across those eddies there. If you can get your blade in the good water and get good grip, you can really move quickly.
So into 4th place for Po Ekenez of Spain. He's still Ulan Valant leading for Slovenia, 84.51 in the early stages of the competition. 33 boats still to run in this men's kayak semi-final. And, well, I reckon most of that crowd are there to watch one person.
Yeah, they could well be. They could well be.
And that person, Peter Kauser, well, we'll have to wait a little bit longer to see him. The winner, of course, of the first World Cup of the season in Prague. He was 8th in the second World Cup, and the Slovenians will be wanting Peter to take the win. But let's take the focus to Lima Huang of the People's Republic of China on course now.
Yeah, beautifully in and out of the first upstream. He got a great line down the drop, picking up that wave, and just off the back a bit, but he's coming in all right.
So the Chinese team haven't competed much in international competition over the last few seasons. Partly, obviously, it's been unsettled because of COVID, but generally they don't compete in all the races, and so sometimes you can get real surprises. Athletes really emerging who are going to challenge, and well, it's a competitive start given that there's 2 touches on the board.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Just getting a bit stuck there on that gate 10, coming out across, and a little bit tough through there too. That water can be really funny through that gate 11, so it's important to keep the tail under control and the boat moving well through there.
So exiting through the gate 13. Now, the important bit here is to keep the boat speed, and a little bit sticky there in the downstream 16. So important when you're in that slack water in the eddy, then you've got to hold that boat speed as much as you can.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you can just see still just a bit stuck on the water here. I think we'll see some of the really good runs like we saw with the early Slovenian are just going to really be harnessing that water and moving nice and smoothly.
So 10.5 seconds at the second split is a really good indicator of just how easy it is to slip away. Into 7th place at the moment for Huang of the People's Republic of China. And, well, the waters here on the Sava River are just pushing him around a little bit too much today. And that's not going to be enough to make a final here. Well, here's a name to watch. A bit of an unknown, well, not an unknown. He hasn't been around much because of the strength of the French team, but Benjamin Renier of France sets off now, and you could pretty much rely on him putting in a competitive time here that will challenge a place in the final.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, he's an incredibly good paddler, and like you said, just not seen on the circuit too often because of the difficulty to make that strong French team. Beautiful start from Benjamin. He'll be really happy with that, and just like you said, nice and smooth, and I think there's a good chance he'll put a good smooth run in here.
So he has made 4 World Cup finals in his career, including one last year in Po on his home water. But he doesn't have those opportunities every time. So seizing the opportunity when you get the chance for a big start line is what you need to do, and he looks like he's doing that now.
Yeah, beautifully through that first double up there, and just staying on the line, and you can see he's not working super hard to get through those gates. He's in good positions, he's able to pedal, to sit up really nicely through that upstream there as well.
Effortless on the middle section, very nice indeed, and he's turned a deficit into an advantage by nearly 2 seconds. This is a great run coming together from Renier of France.
Absolutely, he just needs to hold it together through here, this bottom part, keep moving with the water. He's done well through there. Certainly looks a bit tired, but I'm sure he's got the capacity to keep it going all the way to the finish line.
Yes, they will look so slow at the bottom part of the course, but they are working very hard indeed and digging into every bit of effort they can. And he does take the race lead by 0.27, so he gets trimmed at the bottom. But Benjamin Renier of France is our new race leader ahead of Ulan Vallant of Slovenia, and then Mathieu Desnos of Brazil.
That's it, and it looks like we're just starting to see a little bit of a cluster there at the top around that 84 seconds, so it's certainly a good time, and I think that's another one that's going to be competitive.
Renier was very good on the middle section of the course. He turned a deficit into a significant advantage, and then that got eaten away at the bottom. So there is still time in this 21 gate course, and now on course Dimitri Marx of Switzerland sets off.
Yeah, young Swiss paddler, he's been doing really well recently. I think one of his highlights might have been in Prague, the extreme slalom. He's been going incredibly well. Broke his paddle right off the ramp and then still managed to basically be in the running right till the end. He certainly showed me how it was done, even though he only had one blade. But yeah, incredible paddler, and nice start he's got to here as well.
Well, yes, he is. He's an under-23 world champion on 2 occasions in the extreme kayak, but now looking in this canoe slalom event to try and make it into the final. 14th he was at the under-23 worlds last year. That was on this course, so just missed out on the final in that instance.
A bit tight there, but he's doing well. Looks like he's holding the positions and keeping it together nicely.
Well, good through 11 and 12, keeps it tight, but now he's got to get on the gas.
That's it. He's doing well so far. It's tricky through here with the water. As you get to the bottom of the course, it starts to swirl a bit more and maybe slow down a bit. So I think that's why we see, part of the reason we see the paddlers looking like they're going a bit slower at the bottom. It's just working hard against that water that's slowing down, especially with the lower level at the moment.
So you can see just how sticky the water is around 19 and 20. And sometimes it works in your favour, sometimes not. I suspect the physical nature of the course, the athletes will feel it's not working in their favour at all any time. But 86.59 into 3rd place for Dimitri Marx of Switzerland. And well, 2.35 down on the race lead time. I suspect we're going to get a real cluster of people squeezing in. There's not going to be a lot of margin between 1st and 10th for a place in the final. That's my prediction.
No, I think you're absolutely right, and we can see already how beneficial those clean runs are. You know, the top 3 being clean there. I think, like you said earlier, it's crucial.
Well, here's a name to watch. Mario Leitner of Austria now sets off. He was a finalist in Prague, missed the final last weekend, and on his day can be very competitive.
Absolutely, another beautiful line on the drop. I think Mario's no stranger to this course. He living not too far away, so beautifully across there too. You can just see how he's making it look so effortless.
Keep it a dry boat, isn't it? That's dry and flat if you can. That's the way to control the waters here on the River Sava, and nice through 6. He gets the exit as well.
Yeah, that's right. It's really surprising actually looking at that split time there. He seems like he's been super smooth and controlled, but perhaps it's just slipped away from him.
Yeah, I'd agree. Deceptive there. I thought he was on the pace, but now we'll have to wait and see how he does in this middle section. This is where the race leader, Renier of France, was very good indeed.
That's right, and again, he's just looking so comfortable. You know, we've seen people fighting with the poles a bit, but he's in good positions and able to paddle, so hopefully he can pull back a bit of time, but we'll see.
He's a junior and under-23 world medalist. He's also a finalist at the European Championships earlier on this season, finished 9th in that race. And, well, he's stabilised the deficit, but he is still down.
That's it. Just looks tough out there, but he's definitely held on. And like we said, the race leader at the moment had a really good middle section, so he's not lost anything there, which is good. just see how he can sprint to the finish now and where that puts him.
Well, it's going to be close. He's found time at the bottom and closed the gap into third place for Mario Leitner of Austria. Well, we knew Grenier of France wasn't quite as quick on the bottom section, and Leitner found a bit of time, and 85.49. There he is.
Yeah, nice. Looks relatively happy with that, and I think he should be. That was a good run, like you said. Good to find that time on the bottom as well.
So Benjamin Grenier leads for France ahead of Ulan Valant of Slovenia, and then Mario Leitner of Austria. The top three after 11 boats in this 40-boat men's kayak semi-final. We're live from Tarsen in Slovenia. Myself, Andy Maddock, and then alongside me, Callum Gilbert. We'll talk you through as this race unfolds.
That's it. Next up, Joan Crespo, next of our Spanish paddlers, sporting the new Salto 4. Actually, that's just fresh off the market. Oh no! And he's just taken a bit too much edge there, but managed to stay on a relatively good line and perhaps lost a bit of speed. But I'm sure he can refocus and get on back on his run.
Well, yes, he gave it just too much upstream edge, didn't he? Committed to the upstream edge and the blade, and well, 2.48. It's well, not ideal, but it's certainly not out of the running for the two-time World Championship bronze medalist.
No, that's it, and just goes to show, you know, how costly those touches are going to be. 2.4 the deficit from sort of falling in there, but that's just slightly more than a touch would be. So, oh, he's just gone really tight there. So,
I think he's missed gate 12, hasn't he?
Absolutely. Like you said earlier, I think that's up to the judges. Fortunately, we don't have to make those decisions here.
Well, interestingly, there's no penalty showing at the moment, so he may well have got it. Who knows? But certainly Juan Crespo is on his back foot. He's reacting as he comes down this course, and that's, you know, as soon as you start being on the edge on every gate, then sooner or later, then the wheels are going to come off.
That's right. That's right. Especially on a course like this with the slow water at the bottom, you've got to be comfortable and in control the whole way down.
Well, he is showing a clean run at the moment. He crosses the line, 89.20 to go into 7th place. But I think just as we were going off the caption, there was a review going on the screen for gate 12. We'll have to wait and see for that. But Juan Crespo, 89.20 is his race time. And, well, that's not going to challenge, really, a place in the final. Still, Benjamin Grenier of France leading the way.
Yeah, that's it. Next up, Marcelo Vera. He has had some incredible racing over the last year or two, so I'm really excited to see how he goes today.
Yes, he's not quite got the consistency of some of the top boats, but he's still young, still developing, and he was a World Championship silver medalist last year. He was 6th last weekend in Krakow at the World Cup, so can he get the momentum? And the Italians, we call this the second home of the Italian team.
That's it. You can see he just knows exactly how to put the boat on that wave and flying across into the upstream. Nicely through these downs that have been catching people out, and we'll see how he goes in this upstream that's people have found a bit tricky as well.
0.76, well, that's in touch with the race lead time. That's a good top section as he builds into this course.
Yeah, looking good, good comfort, good space. Keeping that boat under control. Nicely into gate 10 there. Let's see how he goes across to 11. Just using the hole beautifully, puts it bow between, pulling out again and then into the upstream, another one.
Very flat boat as well, which is working very effectively for him. Of course, his compatriot Giovanni De Gennaro was fastest in the heats yesterday. He goes off last in this semi-final. But 3.78 is not as quick as he was looking.
No, that's right, and it seems to be really deceptive, these split times here today. You know, you think you're going well and you're keeping it under control, and all of a sudden you've lost a couple of seconds. So I think that just really goes to show when you're using the water, the time can come, and if it's just working against you, it just slips away.
Well, he's already outside of the race lead time, and more time slipped away at the bottom. 4.24, only 7th place for the World Championship silver medalist of last year, Marcello Beda of Italy. And we'll have to wait and see, but I think that's not going to be enough for a place in the final.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, at this early stage, we're not even halfway through the field yet. I think you're certainly needing to be up in those sort of P1, 2, 3 positions to be looking at a place in the final.
Next to start, Martin Halsin of Slovakia coming down the drop. Great camera angle here. We're a little bit shorter of cameras than we were yesterday. Unfortunately, overnight, two of the broadcast cameras have been stolen. But hopefully it won't affect the broadcast over the weekend, and but it is a bit frustrating and a bit of last-minute work for the team to put together ahead of the start of the semi-finals this morning.
Absolutely, and you can see Martin's done a great job on the top here. Just once again, that gate 6 seems to be really troublesome. Really tricky to get with the water there, avoid the rock at the bottom and keep the boat under control. He's done a good job. He's held it together, stayed off the poles, although he has picked up a touch on 8, I've just seen.
Yes, and that will give him a bit of a disadvantage there. It suddenly blemishes what is looking like a very good, very attacking run.
Absolutely.
So coming out of the upstream gate 13, this is where the physical demands start to come in, and another penalty on 16, but he has got the boat speed.
He does, that's right. He's certainly moving the boat well down the course. Unfortunately, just clipping a couple of the poles, but he's got the speed, like you say.
He's got 10 World Cup finals to his name, so very consistent paddler in his career. Only been on the podium once in the World Cup, but it looks like it's slipping away here, and it's going to be outside of a place in the final today. I think 7th place for now for Martin Halsin of Slovakia, but a quick time, 4 seconds in penalties.
Absolutely, that raw time there is right up there and competitive with the top couple of times we've seen. So once again, I think it's showing that bunching. That 84 seems to be the time to beat at the moment.
Body language from the Slovakian coaches said it all there, I think.
Yeah, that's right. So
now on course, Quan Xing of the People's Republic of China sets off. He was 17th in Tokyo last year at the Olympic Games. Best season this season, 25th last weekend in Krakow.
Yep, that's it. Nicely down the drop, just getting a bit caught on the hole, but he's done a good job to get into the upstream there. Once again onto the wave, beautifully kicked across the back, and you can see just flying straight into the next up there, gate 3.
Just having to drag it round a little bit from 4 to 5, but this is looking in touch. 1.67 down. That's in touch with the top 3 at this stage.
Certainly, and that's a beautiful upstream there on gate 7. Just wiggling through the stagger now, 8-9, trying to get in high to 10, coming across the wave. That can be really tricky with that that lateral wave there, kind of moving downstream almost. It's quite unusual, but one of these sort of specific cool features they have here on this course.
Well, nicely through 11, 12, 13. This is a very tidy run coming together. And we'll get an indication on the second split as to how it compares. But deceptive again, 5.58. The time has slipped away.
Once again, Andy, yeah, we're not making great predictions on these split times, are we? My goodness. Really tricky to see. But yeah, I think just getting a bit stuck like that on some of the poles, and it all adds up, especially when you've got these 8 upstreams, you know. That's a lot of places to get stuck and lose fractions of a second.
Yeah, normally we'd have 6 upstreams, but we've gone for a shorter course here because of low water levels on the River Sava. 8 upstreams, making it very physical. And stopping the clock at 91.50. So Xin Kuang of the People's Republic of China only into 11th place.
Yeah, that's right. And this is, I think, like you mentioned earlier, the first World Cup we've had where they've actually utilised that new rule where they can have 8 upstreams. And I think a great time to do it, like you say, low water making it hard, and it's certainly a different dynamic.
Well, it certainly makes the course a little bit longer as well than it would be with the 6 upstreams. We'd probably be down into the, 70 seconds-ish.
Absolutely. Next up, Andrej Tunka of the Czech Republic. This is a man who knows how to paddle. Another incredibly difficult team to make, and good to see him back on the team this year.
Yeah, the world champion of 2017. He's made 16 World Cup finals in his career, adding another one last weekend in Krakow, where he finished in 5th place, so still able to contend for a podium.
Absolutely, that's not a bad track record to have, I think. We'll just get a bit stuck there on gate 6, and once again seems to really be catching people out there. Nicely around 7, and I'm sure he's back on now and ready to go.
This is where he's got to get on the gas now. Got to stay focused. And this is upstream gate 10. The athlete's making it look very easy on the run into gate 10, but the timing's so important.
Absolutely. Like we talked about before, that curler on the way in really makes the entry quite tricky, so it's important to have the good timing and a good jump, like you said.
So the second split is going to show he's now 2.79 down.
That's it, but he's looking good through the stagger, so I think he might have made a little bit of that back, but once again, we'll have to wait and see. I don't think our predictions are quite up there today.
Well, let's see how he does through 19 and 20. It looks like It's not too sticky for him through there.
No, boat's moving well into the last up, a little bit low, but punting off the wall there. So hopefully he can keep the speed and just working hard to the finish now.
Well, he's had to work and graft for this run, but 86.38 into 4th place and in touch. But it has shown that you can't afford to make any kind of errors on this course.
That's right, and I think while he's 4th at the moment, that's still sort of 2 seconds off the lead. I think we're going to see a lot of the guys slot into those gaps there, so we'll have to wait and see.
Next to start, the hugely experienced Dariusz Popiela of Poland. Very experienced paddler, very strong, powerful paddler. This physical demand of this course should favour him, but he hasn't found the consistency that you'd expect from him.
No, I agree. I think he's definitely got the fitness and the strength to take it to this course, so we'll have to see how he goes.
So far, 29th and 32nd in the first 2 World Cups of the season.
Yep, certainly. I think he'll be looking to improve on those. He's certainly got the capacity to do so. Nicely across that wave, so off to a good start, I think.
Yeah, he's certainly leaving nothing out there as he comes down through gate 5 into this upstream, and he's up on the split.
Yeah, that's 300th of a second up there. Nicely around that double upstream. This is looking like a good start.
Very good on those double upstream gates. Really held the entry pole, got the exits, and he's on the edge now.
Yeah, that's it. You can just see some of this water catching him out here and there, or everybody actually. Just give it a bit of edge and give it an inch. It takes a mile this course, I think.
So now through a 50-second penalty on gate 13. I did think that he'd asked the question. Interesting there.
Yeah, they've put that penalty on straight away. I think they'll be checking that out, double checking. But yeah, he was certainly very tight on that upstream.
Interestingly enough, it took a while, but Juan Crespo has been given that 50-second penalty on gate 12. So it was a clean run for quite some time, but Juan Crespo has picked up a 50-second penalty, and Dariusz Popiela of Poland a 50-second penalty too on the upstream 13. Well, he maybe doesn't agree with that.
Yeah, pretty disappointing, I think, for him. He'll be disappointed. I mean, that was a good time. We can see just 3/4 of a second off the lead at the moment without that penalty. So yeah, but he really left it up to the judges when that upstream by being so tight. So it's always going to be tough.
Yeah, fine margins to get a World Cup final here in Tartzen. It is Benjamin Renier of France leading ahead of Ulan Valant of Slovenia and Mario Leitner of Austria. That's the top 3 as we approach the halfway point in this men's kayak semi-final. And on course now, it is Yuki Tanaka of Japan.
Yeah, beautifully down the drop and through the first upstream. Bouncing up onto the wave, taking quite a bit there. You can just see getting a bit stuck, but still in a nice position in the upstream, so certainly can hold it together. I don't think that should cost too much.
Just 20 years old and not a lot of international experience within the World Cup series, but I think he's had good performances at the Asian Championships.
Oh, and he was looking so good through that tricky double up section, just getting a bit held up through these the 2 downs afterwards. Into 10 there, again just dropping a bit low, and I think unfortunately this is going to be costing him a bit of time.
Well, nicely through the line into 11, 12, and now tight on 13. That's a really good move there.
Yeah, beautifully through those gates. But you can just see quite a wee way off the split there. I think those little bits at the top costing him.
No penalties showing. I think there was a movement on the pole on gate 8, but it may well have been water splash. That's being reviewed at the moment. So clean at the moment, but 5.97 now the deficit at the bottom of the course.
That's right, Andy, and just to iterate on that touches there, you can't touch the gate with any part of your boat, body or paddle, but if you do splash with the water, that's not included as a touch, so sometimes quite tricky to see, but once again, they've got a great system for reviewing that.
So no doubt about the penalty on gate 21. That is a 2-second penalty, and into 12th place for Tanaka of Japan. Still, Renier leading for France as we're getting well closer to the sharp end of this men's kayak semi-final. And here's an athlete who, again, isn't always that consistent, but when he finds the groove, can be deadly fast. And that's Pedro Goncalves, better known as Pepe from Brazil.
That's it, and Pepe certainly can be a bit of a showboater, so I'm sure he can put on a show. Let's see what he's going to lay down today.
Well, it's a
Nice.
great line into the first upstream gate. He really spotted that line early, you can see.
Right on the pole there. Oh, nice, big pop across. Nicely around that gate 3. Certainly a good start for Pepe.
He made the final in Prague, the first World Cup of the season, 38th last weekend. He picked up a 50 in the semi-final at this stage of the competition, but .23, he is in the mix.
That's it, right up there, and nicely through the double up section. I think he's just keeping this run under control really well. That tight 2 gates there, that's 8, 9. And nicely into 10, nice and high, sweeping around, launching out. Let's see how he goes through this down.
Well, he's absolutely cutting the margins here.
That's it. That's it. Still seems to be holding those poles though, so we'll see what's happening with that split, but so far looking pretty good.
So he's down on the split, 2.92 seconds, so a little bit of time slipping away and not great through 16, no boat speed.
No, that's it. Just getting caught up there by the water and a bit stuck. So, like we said before, it's costly. You know, you've got to be going with the water and moving the whole time.
So one more gate to go. Here's a great line as he comes in towards the upstream 21. In and out, and now sprinting to the finish. He's outside the race lead time. He's made a bit of time at the bottom, but not quite enough. Into 6th place for now, 86.97.
I mean, still a respectful run by Pepe there. It's a tough course, and to stay off the poles and put in a clean run, I mean, I don't think he's going to be too disappointed with that. Maybe not quite the lines he wanted everywhere, but he held it together well.
I'd agree, and important here to just take away running into the World Championships, just a little bit of momentum, a bit of positivity.
That's right, and there's always learning every time you get on the start line, so most of these athletes will be looking to improve for the World Championships next month. Next up, Isaac Ostrom from Sweden. Nicely over the drop there, just picking up the curler and running into the first upstream beautifully.
And he, of course, won the World Cup here in 2020. It wasn't a full start line, but it's still, nonetheless, he competed against the Slovenians at home, and he came out on top.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think from memory they were actually starting below the drop for that race, right?
I think you might be right. I think it was the time of year or something like that.
Yeah, that's right.
Like a water, or there was something. You're right.
But no, certainly he's able to be fast on here. Just getting a bit stuck in that gate 6, but staying online and really importantly keeping it clean. Nicely through that stagger and jumping into gate 10, beautifully high, nicely around the pole, and he's certainly in touch here.
Well, he was nearly in the final last weekend, just 12th, so just outside in Krakow, and looks like he's launching a good challenge here.
It's it. You can see in that gate 13 a lot of athletes just struggling with grip. They're sort of sliding to the outside there. I think really important to try and keep that boat tracking around, but obviously a lot easier said than done on this course.
Time has slipped away, nearly 4 seconds the deficit as he comes down into the last 3 gates. And well, this is where the fatigue is setting in, and this final upstream gate, there's still even a lot of time just in that one gate.
That's right, that's right. Once again, nice respectable time there, 86 seconds. Not everything he wanted, but importantly clean, and I think a good solid run on a tough course.
I'd agree, and he found time at the bottom. So Isaac Erstrom goes into 6th place, 86.90, but still Renier leads for France ahead of Valant of Slovenia, Leitner of Austria, as we are now at the halfway point in this men's kayak semi-final here in Tarsen, Slovenia. Remember, the athletes racing in reverse order of their heats performance, so should, in theory, be getting faster as we watch Chris Bowers of Great Britain set off on his semi-final run. He won the extreme kayak competition last weekend in Krakow in Poland, and well, he was very quick in the semi-final last weekend, but picked up a 50-second penalty. Otherwise, he'd have been comfortably in the final.
Yeah, just saw him got a bit stuck there on the start in that first hole. Really tight on a couple of these gates, but certainly a strong paddler, and I'm sure he can pull that back. 2.8 though, that's quite a deficit on the top, but he'll be looking to stay focused and stick to his plan, I think.
Yeah, it's he unfortunately ended up having to punt off the wall there on the exit from 6. Didn't quite get the support from the water. Had to resort. You don't get penalised for punting off any part of the obstacles. You just basically got to stay off the poles.
That's right, and I think we heard it was Adam Burgess explaining to us about the punt last weekend in Krakow. Yeah.
But he has got a 50-second penalty on gate 11. So in if that stands, then, well, there's no way back from there.
No, that's right. That's certainly not the kind of time you can make back on the run, unfortunately. But he was really tight up there, and he definitely left it up to the judges.
Yes, there's a lot of people will be cutting the lines here.
Nicely through that last upstream, though. Sorry to interrupt you there, Andy.
No, that's good. Well, Chris Bauer stops the clock, 1:36.62. So the time is competitive, but a 50-second penalty on gate 11. And it's not to be for Chris Bowers of Great Britain, the European and World Championship bronze medalist from last year at under 23 level.
That's right. You can see the British team there. They're obviously a bit disappointed for Chris as well with that penalty. But, I mean, that's slalom racing really, isn't it?
It can be brutal.
It certainly can.
Fine margins and go from hero to zero in very little time. And certainly it's no respecter of reputations.
No, that's right.
On course now, Mathieu Bienzitso of France, again another competitor who doesn't get the opportunity that much to compete at the top level.
That's right, he's been in and out of the French team. Actually, he was a world medalist in 2014 in Deep Creek, I think, if I remember rightly. I think that was French 1, 2, 3 at that particular race. So once again, just showing the incredible standard of the French team.
Right, and he won the overall World Cup title in 2016 as well. So absolutely, you'd expect him to be a competitor for the place in the final. And 0.41 on the top section is very much in touch with a place in that final.
That's right, and he's doing well here, just staying composed, keeping the boat moving. Really good position through the gates, coming into that tricky upstream 13, not sliding too much and getting the speed out, so I think this is looking quite good.
Yeah, if you watch the boat is flowing really well. I mean, 3.4, the deficit is a surprise.
Once again, I'm going to have to eat my words there on that split time.
Well, there's still time to make up a little bit of time. We've seen a lot of people just find a bit of time at the bottom. That's where a race leader, Renier of France, obviously wasn't quite as good as he was in the middle and the top section. So it is France against France, but it's going to be close. And look at that.
Wow.
Bienzitso finds time at the bottom of the course and puts himself right back in the game. Third place.
Yeah, great run. Great job there at the bottom. That's fantastic. I think he'll be pretty happy with that. And once again, just goes to show the standard of those first early runs we saw from Benjamin and Ulan.
So Benjamin Renier of France leading ahead of Ulan Valant of Slovenia. Mathieu Bienzitso goes into third place.
Next up, one of our Australian paddlers, which is cool. Good to see an Oceania boat in there. Tim Anderson certainly got some speed, and we'll see what he's going to do to get down the drop.
Bronze medalist at the Oceania Championships earlier on in this season.
Beautifully across the drop there into the first upstream, nice and tight round the pole, looking very comfortable and composed.
Now this is the critical bit, get the help from the wave, and he gets tight in and out on 3.
That's right, beautifully done through there. What, through that tight stagger, he's done a good job. I think he was definitely in that gate. So
he has picked up a 2-second penalty. I think he just caught it on his shoulder or his neck.
Really unfortunate, because he would have been right in touch there with that split time.
So we'll have to wait and see if he can make amends, find some time here.
Nice and tight into gate 10, pulling out onto the back of the stopper there and beautifully putting the bows between, keeping that boat under control. That's great.
Well, that's quick through 13, doesn't quite get the exit, but he's got the boat speed as he comes down through 15.
That's it. He's looking like he's just battling a little bit through here with the water, but definitely keeping the boat moving and still got it together. And they're reviewing that touch on gate 4, so he'll be hoping, well, not right now I imagine, but certainly the Australian team will be hoping that comes off.
Well, considering he's 2.75 down, most of that is that penalty, so this is a very good run.
Absolutely, and beautiful through the last upstream there, sprinting to the finish.
And stops the clock just outside into 5th place, but you can see how packed it's getting at the top of the leaderboard. 1.63 down on the race lead time and into 5th place for Timothy Anderson. And significantly, that's the fastest raw time of the day.
That's right, including that touch. He's still in 5th place, so you're right, that's really lifted the bar again. So Renier still leading for France as we start to get into the zone where there's a few more big names appearing. We've got, well, on course, Jakub Grigor, who was the Olympic silver medalist from Tokyo last year, and always one to watch. Absolutely, an incredible paddler through the junior ranks. I think he won just about all of the junior and under 23 races that he went to. So he's certainly no stranger to high performance in the sport.
6th in Prague in the first World Cup of the season, 13th just outside the final last weekend in Krakow, lying 6th overall in the World Cup standings so far.
Yeah, just a little bit stuck there on that wave. He sort of did a good job to make the position, but I think I thought he was going to lose a bit of time, but obviously not. He's a quarter of a second up on that first sector.
So now this is where he's got to consolidate. He's got to just stay focused. This course you can you can deliver the top, but it's no good unless you deliver the rest of the course. All 21 gates is what's required in order to make a place in the final.
That's right, that's right. And nicely through 13 there, holding the pole importantly. We've seen a lot of athletes slip, so good to see him hold that. Good speed through the stagger, but 3 seconds down.
I think this is a reflection, isn't it? Well, Renier was so good for France through this section because people seem to be like down on the middle split, but then finding time again at the bottom.
That's right, and you can see that time just trading back and forth all the way down the course.
So the gate's running out though. He is done with the gates. He's now just got to dig deep and go for the clock. And it's going to be outside the race lead time into 5th place. 1.39 off the race lead time. Jakub Grigar of Slovakia is in the mix. This is going to be tight.
It is, it's going to be tight. And he's just slotted in above Timothy Anderson here, who, as we can see, has still got the touch at the moment. So that review's still going on, I think. But at this stage, the touch hasn't come off.
So Renier still leading for France, ahead of Poulain Valin of Slovenia, Mathieu Piazzizo of France, although there's still an asterisk against Mathieu's name at the moment on the leaderboard, so not a final result for him. As we next look at Zino Ivaldi of Italy, a junior and under 23 World Championship medalist. And again, you'd expect him to go fast on here.
Absolutely, and you just see him a little bit stuck there on that first hole on the drop, but he's nailed the first upstream and absolutely beautiful across that wave there, so all good so far, I think.
Italians at the World Cup here in 2019, the last time we had a full start line, Italians took 3 out of the 4 gold medals up for grabs.
Yeah, wow, that's incredible. And you can see, look at that, just quarter of a second down on the split, so he's absolutely in touch.
Yeah, it's deceptive, isn't it? Just timing the strokes and keeping it tidy.
Yeah, beautifully through that gate 10, nice control through 11 now, possibly a little bit sticky, but importantly clean and holding those positions. Nicely around the pole on 13, working hard to get out, and he'll be trying to keep his boat speed through the stagger.
Well, he has dropped a little bit more time on the middle section, but importantly, he's as close as most people have been who've been challenging for a top 3 position, so he can still have this, he could still challenge for the race lead, but not now. He's got a 2-second penalty on gate 19, and that will affect him significantly.
Yeah, it's going to be really tough to make that up, and sprinting to the finish now though, and we'll see where that puts him.
So 86.70, that includes a 2-second penalty. He was on course for a challenging place into the top 3, but it is only into 9th place for the Italian. You can see the coaching team there supporting him down the course. They know how significant it is as well.
Absolutely, I believe that was his brother there, Rafa. He wouldn't have been too happy with that, unfortunately, but once again, another 84-second raw time, so it seems like that's really the place to be, that 84 seconds.
So next up for Germany, Stefan Hengst.
Yeah, Stefan's found some incredible form over the last couple of years as well. Someone we haven't seen on the circuit too much in the past, but nice to see him at these World Cup races, and not only that, but delivering some incredible runs. Beautifully down the first drop there, and a wonderful first upstream.
5th at the World Championships last year, and then he started off his season with a 9th in Prague. He didn't race last weekend because the German team withdrew from the competition, unfortunately, because of a COVID outbreak. Great to see them back this week. And of course, we'll be going to Germany, Augsburg in Germany at the end of July for the World Championships, but a little bit sticky there, got stuck on a rock and left without a stroke.
That's once again just that water in gate 6 really playing with his boat and causing him a bit of trouble. But he's done well to hold it together, stayed off the poles and nicely into 10 now.
It's interesting, Stefan had made a real name for himself in extreme kayak and started to get a real consistent record, and as well though that seems to have helped him in his canoe slalom. I don't know, build his confidence or what, but he's always been there or thereabouts, but he seems to have improved his higher level standing, and is that a 50 on 16?
Yeah, that's it. You're absolutely right, but unfortunately just getting a bit tight there, trying to cut the line a bit much, I think, or getting pushed out of the way by the water. So that's another 50-second penalty, which in this sport is just, that's game over really.
So it's not going to be for Stefan Hengst of Germany on this occasion, but we will see him competing in the extreme kayak competition. We can expect him to be in the mix in that head-to-head round. You can follow that. That's 4:30 tomorrow afternoon, Central European time. But still, that top three unchanged. Renier leads ahead of Valant and Biedzitso. Biedzitso now a confirmed result. The asterisk has gone off that, so he'll be relieved with that.
That's good. Yeah, he'll be happy with that, that's for sure. Next up, Erik Holmer, another Swedish paddler. That's the third in the semi-final, so good to see all three of those guys in here. Let's see what he's got for us.
So down the drop, this big drop, the horizon, it's exciting when you set off from the top, isn't it?
It certainly is, and one of the courses where it just doesn't seem to be worth opening up the DRS at the top. You just take it easy, cruise down the drop and let the water do the work for you.
And it's a great amphitheatre here, really. You've got to that, you're almost sheltered from it as an athlete on the start line because you're a bit tucked around the corner.
Absolutely.
You come down the drop, you've got the big grandstand, you've got the noise, and, well, it's a cauldron of activity.
It absolutely is, you're totally right there. And we can see Eric's done a great job on the top there, just 0.09 off on the split, so right in touch.
Now into this business part of the course. This is where race leader Renier of France was so strong.
That's it, beautifully tight through there on 11, just managing to squeeze it around on 12, and a good sweep on 13.
Was that a touch on 12? Well, we'll have to wait and see. It may well have been a water splash because he was certainly pushing the boat around, and he's in touch. 1.95, we know that that's good enough around for a top three, but he's taken a penalty on the upstream 18.
Yeah, just clipped it there, and like you said before, they're reviewing that gate 12. I think it was water, but we'll have to wait and see.
So one more gate to go, gate 21, very nicely in and out of there, but he's got that penalty, maybe another one as he comes towards the finish. Into 12th place outside of the final.
Yeah, unfortunately just slipped away from him a little bit there, but a great start from Erik. But ultimately it's the whole run that counts, isn't it?
It is indeed for the Olympic finalist from Tokyo. It's not to be a final today. So far just the 2-second penalty on gate 18 showing. And 12th place, although there is a review on gate 12. I'll update if that changes.
That's right. Next up, Joe Clark, Olympic champion from Rio.
So he gets to set off on his semi-final run. And, well, he's had a pretty strong start to the season. He had a mistake in Prague, and then he was silver medalist last weekend in Krakow, and also was on the podium again in the extreme kayak competition.
Yeah, beautifully through that first upstream, and again on the second one. He's a really strong, powerful paddler. Just getting a bit spun up there on the back of the wave, so pulls it together through 4 and still in a nice position.
So, well, considering he wasn't the tidiest through 3 to 4, then that's a competitive split.
Absolutely, absolutely, and nicely through the double up importantly as well. Just wiggling through the stagger, nice and clean through there, jumping into 10 nice and high.
Well, you can anticipate, I know Joe Clark and Giovanni De Gennaro are great friends off the water, and you can anticipate a great battle between them here in this semi-final.
Absolutely, Giovanni's been on some incredible form as well recently. We just see Joe slipping a little bit wide there in 13.
And he's picked up a penalty on 13. Didn't see it, but 2 seconds showing on the clock.
Yeah, that's it, and you can see that split time just slipping away. Oh, another touch there on gate 18, that's going to be really tough. So
suddenly, having been challenging at the top of the course for the race lead, he's now on his back foot into the last upstream gate, and on a short course like this, 4 seconds of penalties is just too much to make up.
That's right, and I mean a really competitive time there, 82 seconds, so like you said, that low 80 seconds is certainly possible.
Wow, what a time from the Olympic champion of Rio 2016. Joe Clark, though only sitting in 8th place and unlikely to make it in the final, not from his pace, but from those 2 touches on the course. But there we can see the Peter Kauser army getting ready to make some noise.
That's it, the man everyone's come to see, man of the hour on the top of the course.
the winner of the first World Cup of the season. He was 8th last weekend. Peter Kauser goes for a place in the final here in Slovenia.
I would love to know how many times he's done this drop, because it would be, oh, I don't know, thousands? Who knows? Beautifully across here into the first up.
It must be, you know, the Olympic silver medalist. He's a two-time world champion. He's pretty much won everything there is to win in this sport. And at 38 years old, he is still on a mission to achieve in Paris.
That's it, and beautifully through there, really keeping the boat running. And holy moly, we can see that with 1.5 seconds up on the split. Just incredible.
So Peter Kauser is showing us how to do it as he comes down through gate 8 and 9 into the middle section.
Nicely through there, keeping the boat speed on. A little bit low actually in 10, but keeps the boat moving, and I don't think that's going to be a problem for him at all.
So, bit busy on 11. That's not how he would have liked to do it, but he's keeping it clean, and importantly, that's a great move on 13.
Yeah, really tight there on the exit. You can see holding the pole well, keeping the boat moving. Just a third of a second down now on the split, which is pretty good. And when he saw he's got a little bit of trouble in the middle there.
It looked like he picked up a penalty in the middle. I'm not sure, it hasn't been awarded. I might have been imagining that, but Peter now coming down in towards the last gate.
Yeah, that's right. In and out here, nice sweep right around the pole, and if you're working hard to the finish line, this is going to be an incredibly competitive time.
84.24 the time to beat for the race lead. He smashes that, 81.48, and goes into the race lead. The Slovenian crowd will be liking that in a big way.
Absolutely.
There they are.
Absolutely, and once again, I'm going to put a prediction here. I reckon that's good enough for the final. What do you think?
I would definitely say that's good enough for the final.
Yeah, I think we'll be seeing Peter again later on, and we'll see if anyone can challenge that time, eh?
Well, that'll be 3 back-to-back finals. What a start to his season as he goes for the World Championship. Can he win a 3rd world title?
That's right.
In Augsburg in Germany in just over a month's time. Well, from one Slovenian to another, because next up it is Martin Srabotnik, who is also a World Cup and under-23 world finalist.
Oh, beautifully down the drop once again. Not surprising from these Slovenians, but he's nailed that gate 1, up onto the wave and rocketing across into the second upstream.
So a bit sticky on the exit of gate 3 for Srabotnik, but no problems really. And in touch, and remember that's compared to Kauser's time, who is streets ahead of everyone else at the moment.
That's right, I think just being anywhere near the splits at the moment is a good split. Nicely through there, nicely into 10, good tight on the pole. Making a bit of space so he can run down and through the poles on 11. Keeping the boat well, just patient, go through the poles. Nice and tight on that 13. Just getting a bit stuck on the exit, but he's holding it together well.
Yeah, it's a great camera angle there that just shows how high he had to exit from 13, but he is still leading ahead of Kauser at this stage.
And I think just we saw Kauser lose a lot of time in that middle split, so obviously he's still got more to give, it would seem.
It's interesting, I noticed Kauser now has an asterisk on his name, and I'm still not sure he didn't hit gate 12, I have to say, but I'm not a judge.
Oh, there we go, Andy. Maybe you've got the inside knowledge. Maybe you should change the judging if that's the case.
But look at this, Martin Srabotnik,
wow.
2.76.
And he's tied. They've gone dead equal at the top there. Martin Srabotnik and Peter Kauser, first equal. Incredible.
So something not quite right with the graphics, the timings, but one thing's for sure is that Slovenia is 1-2 at the top of the leaderboard, ahead of Benjamin Renier of France. As we get now, we've got 10 boats to go in this men's kayak semi-final, so we will start to confirm who is going to be racing in that final. 12 o'clock Central European time here live at Planet Canoe. Women's kayak final first, then the men's kayak final.
And I think importantly to note that Slovenia are in 4th as well, so all three of their boats in the top 4 as we look at Anatole de la Souce now on the top of the course, looking good down the drop. Just nicely across the hole there and into 3, round the pole, launching out.
Well, he's a junior world champion and 16th here at the under-23 Worlds last year, but silver medalist at the under-23 Europeans last year, and 2.24. Well, it sounds a lot at the top, but is in contention for a place in the final.
Yeah, that's absolutely right, especially when you see there's 2 3/4 seconds splitting the first equal to Benjamin Renier in 3rd, so certainly time to squeeze in, but just getting a touch on that gate, that's not going to help his chances.
No, he's absolutely covering the line here. And now motors down through 14, 15 and 16. Well, still 3.5 seconds down. It sounds like a lot, but at the moment that will put him in to around 5th or 6th place. So it's still very much in contention.
Yeah, just getting a bit pushed around by the water there, I think. Not quite harnessing it the way he wants to. But he's still moving well, and we'll see what he does in this last upstream. Nice and tight on the pole, launching, and just, it's a hard sprint to the finish there through that dead water.
Yeah, digging deep now and stops the clock in 9th place. Anatole Delassou of France will probably not progress through to the final, but it's a respectable run for the young Frenchman. A 2-second penalty included in that time. That picked up on gate 11.
That's it, and you can see the top 7 there, top 8 actually, 7, all clean. So, like you mentioned at the start, just shows how important it is to stay off the poles and keep it clean on this course.
So, Peter Kauser, our race leader, is our first confirmed qualifier. That will please the crowd here.
Yeah, well, that's right. I mean, it must be Srebotnik as well, right, if they're tied there at the top.
Yeah, it's. I think it won't really make a. There'll still be 10 boats going through, but you're right. It all gets a bit complicated. But they are both still being reviewed, so they are still provisional results. As we now look at Galindo Chiarello of Switzerland.
Yeah, he's done a great job on the top there. Another one nicely across the wave, in and out of 3. Beautiful position there on 4, really holding it together well.
His trajectory in the World Cup started off 30th in race 1, 14th in race 2. So if you follow that trajectory, he should be in the final this weekend.
That's right, that's absolutely right. He's done a really good job there on that double up and just wiggling through this tricky 8-9 section.
If only it was that easy,
yeah.
I could say that.
That's right. Or if Progress took that curve, that would be fantastic. But no, beautifully through the course so far, just keeping it under control through 11, nicely under 12, and tight around 13. Good tight exit there, that's good.
So now this is where he will come down and he's got to keep the momentum, particularly in this downstream 16, and he does that very nicely.
Yeah, he's done a great job there, absolutely. So we'll see 2.6, that's certainly nothing to complain about when you look at the deficit to the leaders at the moment.
Well, confirmation, Peter Kauser, the asterisk has gone off. It's a clean run, so he is into the final. And Chiarello of Switzerland is looking like he's going to be challenging for that time. It's going to be just outside the big cluster of people, but 6th place, it's a good run, and that's in the mix.
It certainly is, certainly is. So I think he should be happy with that. It's once again a bit of a wait to see where that puts him, but yeah, it's a good run.
So at the moment, Peter Kauser leading for Slovenia ahead of Martin Srebotnik of Slovenia. Both those two are qualified through into the final. Benjamin Renier sitting in 3rd place for France with 8 boats to go in this men's kayak semi-final.
That's right. Next up, Noah Heger. This is a man that I didn't really know existed a couple of years ago, but my goodness, I know he exists now. He has got some incredible speed, and he's had some great performances recently.
Has indeed. He was 6th at the World Championships last year, and yeah, starting to be much more consistent. 12th at the first World Cup of the season, had to withdraw from the Krakow World Cup. So what's he going to do here?
Really nice there. He's nailed that first up, really good across the wave into the second up. Certainly starting off strong. Good position there through the tight little wiggle, managing to keep the boat moving, and let's see how he goes through this tricky double up.
Well, 1 second down at the moment. That's a solid start, given that the race leaders, plural, because they're on a tied time, are 2.7 seconds ahead of 3rd place.
That's right, 1 second down, certainly nothing to complain about at this point. Beautifully through that upstream there, and let's see how he goes now through this tricky water of 11, nicely controlling the boat, keeping it moving well. Good position on 12, and beautiful sweep around 13. Just sliding a bit though there on that exit. It seems to really be hard to get the grip.
So, well, he's closing it down, 0.83 on the second split, and Heger is taking the fight to the Slovenians as they come through gate 20.
Absolutely, absolutely. Coming to the bottom of this course, he's made up a little bit of time there, so certainly a good time if he can sprint to the finish. Working hard, what's it going to be? Ooh, 82.44, another great time there. So,
importantly, well done, Noah. You are into the final.
Yes, straight through.
Another clean run, 82.44. Kauser leads ahead of Srebotnik for Slovenia, and then Heger goes in for Germany. Benjamin Renier of France still having to wait, but I think he has done enough. He's just got to wait a bit longer.
That's it. So we'll have to wait and see, but I'm inclined to agree. I think that time, although there is a bit of a gap there between third and fourth, almost 2 seconds to squeeze into, so we'll have to wait and see what Lucien Delfour has got coming down the drop now.
So Lucien Delfour, 8th from the Tokyo Olympic Games last year, Oceania champion in 2022. He's got 6 World Cup medals to his name, but that's not a great start.
No, just looked so smooth at the top, but picked up a touch on that first upstream there, so he'll be sticking to plan, trying to focus. Nice position there and holding it together well.
He's got 2 touches, gate 1 and gate 2.
Oh, I completely missed that touch on gate 2.
So, yeah, he's so 5 seconds down on the split time on the top section. Delfour of Australia is going to need to recompose himself, and he's going to need to get the afterburners out here.
That's it, really tight in and out of 10 there. Coming across to 11 with this really tricky water. Does a really nice tight line and just a little wiggle through. Nicely round 13 and working hard on that exit now.
Well, you'd expect a quick run from Lucien, and we're getting that, but he's still in touch if you took away those penalties. But 4 seconds of penalties puts him right down the order, a bit like we saw Joe Clark of Great Britain, who put in a really blisteringly fast time, but 2 touches, and at the moment Clark is sitting 11th outside the final.
Yeah, really tight on that upstream there, nicely around the last upstream and away to the finish. Really unfortunate about those touches, because this would have been a really competitive time.
Into 10th place, so you're right, very quick time, but Lucien Delfour of Australia unlikely to progress into the final, but that is good news for Benjamin Renier of France, because he, who went off in the first 10 boats, has had a long wait to see if that was enough.
He certainly has, so great that we get to see him again in the final.
So here is the man of the moment, Vit Prindiš of the Czech Republic, the winner from Krakow last weekend on a course he doesn't particularly like. He said it didn't particularly suit him, but he took the win. And of course, he is the reigning World Cup champion of 2021 as he sets off for the Czech Republic.
Yeah, great run down the drop there. Just getting a bit stuck in the middle, but certainly not a problem for him.
Takes a faceful, doesn't he, as he goes through the hole, but it doesn't stop him getting the line for gate 1.
No, he's done a great job through there. Nicely across the wave into 3. Working hard on the back of the wave here. Just, you've really got to be disciplined and accurate on your position there through 4, especially with some of these lower poles.
So he's a little bit low on 6, but he gets the exit. And, well, was that intended or not? We'll never know, probably.
Yeah, possibly just making a bit of space to make sure he could get round 6 the way he wanted to. But, you know, the water changes in there so much, it's so hard to make a good, reliable plan.
So Vit is a World Championship medalist. He's a European champion. He's won the World Cup on 2 occasions. Very consistent paddler. And was 14th in the first World Cup of the season. That was on his home water. A little bit disappointing there, but he came right back last weekend, taking the win and getting his season right back on track.
That's right, and just 2.3 seconds down on the split, which at this stage would put him inside that final qualification standard. So certainly just needs to hold it together for the end of this run, and he could be racing again later on this afternoon.
Goes for the punt on the exit 21. Now
done.
He's going to be, he's lost time in the bottom section, 4.32. It slips away on the bottom and into 9th place. So he's going to have to wait and see whether he's done enough. But that is, the Slovenians now have 3 boats in the final. Ulan Valant is now confirmed alongside Peter Kauser and Martin Srabotnik. That's going to be a noisy final.
Absolutely, absolutely, and really unfortunate for Vit there, just slipping away, but I am happy that my early prediction of Ulan's time being enough for the final has paid off.
Well, here's another athlete who's been very consistent in the first few races. Martin Duguid of Switzerland gets his semi-final underway. He was 3rd in the first World Cup of the season, 7th last weekend, so already 2 finals to his name, and he's looking good on the top section.
Absolutely, he's got some incredible speed, and certainly I've seen some amazing performances from him in the past, particularly in the heats. And it seems like this year in particular he's really transferring that to his semi-final and final performances. Like you say, a great start to the season and a great start to this run as well.
Because he also made the final at the European Championships earlier on in the year. He was 6th there, so can he keep that momentum? 0.60 down, well, that's good enough at the moment for a place in the final.
Yeah, that's right, nothing wrong with that 0.6 on the top. Nice and tight there into 10, really keeping the boat moving well.
Now through this critical move, gate 11, 12, 13. He has to wait a little bit off the pole, but the lines are good.
That's right, that's right. I think, oh no, but just picking up a touch there on gate 13, and that is going to cost him dearly.
Suddenly, 4.52. A bit of time loss and that penalty, and he's on his back foot.
That's a lot of time to make up, and we'll see how he goes on the bottom part here, but he is keeping that boat moving quite well. Just actually getting a bit stuck there, so let's see what he can do in this last upstream.
He likes to paddle under the poles, doesn't he?
He certainly does.
He's quick on the last upstream, but the time now slipping away, and only 16th for Martin Dugood. So the run of finals comes to an end here in Tartu, Slovenia. It was good until the middle section, and then it just slipped away.
Yeah, that's tough for Martin, but we can see the second of the French boats in the final now with Mathieu Biazizo. Next up, Felix Oschmalz of Austria. Now this is a man who's got some power in the tank. Let's see what he can put together today.
Yes, he had a great season last year, and well, he's been producing single-run performances this year, but not the consistent level of results. He started off in European Championships with a bronze medal. He was 4th in Tokyo last year, and his run at the moment 11th and 28th in the World Cup. So this is opportunity to get his first World Cup final of the season.
Yeah, he's off to a good start here, keeping the boat under control. Moving well.
So let's have a look. Oh, it takes the touch on gate 4.
Yeah, that's definitely not what you want to do, and as you can see, almost 4 seconds down there on the first bit. That's going to be hard to make up.
Let's see what he can do, because of course he's, I would say, he's famous. You don't really want to be famous for coming 4th place at the games, but with a paddle back in the Olympic final, he actually still came 4th. So what a performance that was in Tokyo.
Absolutely, he's certainly got the speed, just really tight there on 13 and working hard to get around that pole.
Well, he's certainly waving his neck at the gates at the moment, and he has closed the deficit a little bit, but still at the moment 4 seconds off the race lead time is the margin. At the moment it's Mario Leitner sitting waiting to see if he's done enough in 7th place, and so Oschmalz is still in touch. A critical time here for an automatic place in the final, 85.49. It's going to be close, and it is inside.
Wow, wow, and with the touch as well, that's incredible. That's the first touch we've seen in the final. So just shows that speed from Felix today.
Well done, Felix. You are in the final, first World Cup final of the 3 race series. Of course, we're racing here. We then have a pause, and then we come back racing World Cup 4 and 5 in Po and in Seo in Spain at the end of August and early September.
That's right. Up next, Bradley Forbes-Crines from Great Britain. This man has got some serious straight line speed. I think he could even challenge Lewis Hamilton. So let's see if the pace that he can deliver today on this course.
Well, the Flying Scotsman sets off on the course for Great Britain. He's taking that very wide line now, spots the line as he runs into the upstream gate 1. He won a silver medal here in a World Cup in Tartu, I think it was in 2015.
Yeah, I remember that actually. I think that was the year they had the shorter course, right? The course broke at the bottom halfway through the race, so a really strange year, but he did a great job then, and I think he's doing a great job now at the start.
Well, super direct on the downstream gate 4. A bit sticky though on the upstream gate 6.
Yeah, really low on that upstream gate 6. I think he got a bit unlucky with the water there, but he's held it together well in 7 and nicely through 8, 9. Jumping in, it's going to be a bit low in 10, but no, actually the boat's come around well, so we'll have to wait for this next split to see.
Yeah, it was an interesting line from 9 to 10. I'm not sure that was his plan, but it wasn't as bad as it looked like it was going to be.
No, that's right. It certainly looked like it was going to be low, but he held it together well.
So now he's got to get on the gas through this section. 3.15 down. Well, that is good enough for a place in the final if he can make sure that deficit doesn't increase.
Oh, and really tight around there, but he's done a good job to get his head in. Just the last couple of gates now to go, keeping the boat moving.
So 1 gate to go for Bradley Forbes-Crines. At the moment, the lead time, or the cut-off time, 85.63. That's held by Jakob Grieger.
He's got a sprint to the finish now. That's going to be just outside 4.66.
Wow, and just that, there's a big cluster of people in that margin. So it is outside. 12th place for Bradley Forbes-Crines. And, well, good news for Jakub Grigor of Slovakia, who joins Mario Leitner, Matija Biedzitso, Ulan Valant, Benjamin Renier, Noah Heger, Martin Srabotnik and Peter Kauser in the final.
That's it, 2 athletes to go. The next one, Yuri Preskovic, surely he knows how to get into the final.
So here he is, the Olympic champion for the Czech Republic, Yuri Preskovic on course. He's a multiple European champion, world champion, Olympic champion and Olympic medalist. And he hasn't quite had the dominant season that you would expect from him, but a 4th and a 3rd in the first 2 World Cup races is not bad.
That's right, that's absolutely right. And actually, just getting a bit stuck there on that gate 6, picking up a touch and nice and tight round 7, but certainly hasn't put down the really comfortable start we're used to seeing from Yuri.
No, and he doesn't actually look as smooth or as fluid as you normally expect.
No, that's right, just sort of working quite tricky, working hard to get it to work today, but he seems to be finding a bit more comfort now, and beautiful position there around 13.
So we'll have to look on the split time. At the moment, the split time, we're looking about 4.32 from the race lead time. So he is still inside a place in the final, but there's no margin to let that open up further.
That's right, and I think it's important to mention that that's including a 2-second penalty on gate 6, so just shows even when Yuri's not looking his best, he's still an incredibly fast athlete.
So now down to the last upstream gate, and that's a very nice upstream, 21. So the time to beat for automatic qualification, 85.80. He's comfortably inside that, and as you say, with a penalty there, Callum, then he's still one to watch in the final. Well done, Yuri Preskovic, the Olympic champion, is into the final.
That's it, and you can see his family there, they're pretty happy about that, I imagine. Great to see him in another final. So, is it going to be Giovanni De Janeiro or the Czech Vít Brindis? That's a great question, and I couldn't tell you. What do you reckon, Andy?
I don't know. My money would actually be on Giovanni here. Giovanni De Janeiro of Italy, who you say is super consistent normally, and he's been the winner of the heats 3 out of 3 competitions in going into this race.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible, and nice and smooth down the drop there, comfortably around that first upstream. Down through 2, let's see how he picks up this wave.
He won the World Cup here as well in 2019, so he's got a good record on this course, but it is all about delivery on this run.
Yeah, nice, and nicely through there, just hitting the bottom of the course, but managing to hold it together, and only 0.8 down on the first split. That is absolutely fine at this stage.
Yeah, so job done on the top part of the course. Now he's got to deliver the rest of the 21 gates.
That's it, beautifully through 8-9 there, just wiggling around well. Jumping in nice and high to 10. Look at that, that's a great position. Straight around and across to 11, this tricky water down.
He always looks super slow and super controlled, but he is a very strong, very powerful paddler. And make no mistake, he is on a mission here, and he's in touch. 1.16, that's the best we've seen for a while in terms of ability to actually challenge the race leaders from Slovenia.
Absolutely, absolutely. This is a great run that he's putting together. He's just got to get through the last 3 gates here. Nicely through the down, keeping the boat moving well. And you can see the focus in his eyes. Here he comes, last up, beautifully around there, and just launching now to the finish line. Surely this is enough for the final.
81.48 to beat. He's outside of that, but he's into 4th place. Well done, Giovanni De Janeiro of Italy. You are our final qualifier going into 4th place. There is a 2-second penalty awarded for Giovanni on the downstream gate 8, but that is still enough in terms of, in fact, he was the fastest raw time of the day, 81.23, and plus that 2-second penalty. So there he is, he's in the final, but one to watch, because he certainly has got the fastest raw time of the day. But it is Peter Kauser of Slovenia, joint race leader with Martin Srabotnik of Slovenia. They will go off, well, I think it'll be Peter Kauser going off last on the basis of world ranking in the final, and then Noah Heger of Germany, who put in that great performance, is 3rd. Giovanni De Janeiro, Italy, Benjamin Renier of France, Yuri Preskovic of the Czech Republic, the Olympic champion, is in that final. Ulan Valant of Slovenia, 3 Slovenians in the final, along with Matija Biedzitso, Mario Leitner and Jakob Grieger. And the touch has been taken off on gate 8.
Yeah, so there you go there. The bar has been set by Giovanni for the final. He'll be going off last, first in the heats, first in the semi. I wonder if he can deliver that in the final.
Well, he has had a silver medal already in this World Cup series. He was a silver medalist in Prague in the Czech Republic earlier on this season. But that wraps up this men's kayak semi-final. And well, we'll be live on Planet Canoe with the women's kayak final, followed by the men's kayak final, and that gets underway at 12 o'clock Central European time, which is actually only 35 minutes away. It's fast and furious here in Tarsen, Slovenia, but it is Giovanni De Gennaro of Italy who sets the pace. And well, for me, just like with the women's kayak, this short course, penalties so key.
Absolutely. You can see just no, Giovanni got his off, so just one touch there in the top 10 today with Yuri. So certainly it's going to be important to stay clean again in the final.
Some great slow motion shots here on this venue. Real amphitheatre kind of style venue, very compact course. Racing has been going on in this course since 1939. So loads of history. It's clearly evolved over time. It was made artificial, if you can call it that, in 1990 with the concrete obstacles. And well, here are the results from the semi-final. Giovanni De Gennaro confirmed as race winner of the semi-final. He'll go off last in the final, but some big names, and this is going to be an exciting final. Peter Kauser of Slovenia also in that final, along with the Olympic champion Priskovic. But some big names missing out. Vit Prindiš of the Czech Republic, the winner from last weekend, world champion Tunka from Czech Republic, the Olympic champion from Rio, Joe Clark, and there's some other big names. Stefan Hengst was a surprise. He's had some good form, as well as Felix Oschmalz over the past few months of competition. So that concludes the racing here at these men's kayak semi-finals. We're live in Tarsen, Slovenia, and well, from myself, Andy Maddock, and alongside me, thank you very much, Callum Gilbert from the New Zealand team. We'll be back live at 12 o'clock Central European time with the women's kayak finals. We'll see you then.